Friends, my name is JJ, and I just got back from sunny California, where I was having fun with all of my YouTuber buddies at the fabulous VidCon. I love spending time in the US, and I wish I had opportunities to do it more often. So many great, wonderful, friendly people in America. I feel like every time I cross the border, I make like a dozen new friends. But I will tell you one thing I do not like about Americans, and that is the relentless, smothering, obnoxious pessimism that I feel has come to define so much of American culture these days. You know, this idea that everything in America sucks, that being an American sucks, that the future of America is terrible and bleak, and that everything America does is either cringe or evil, while everything that the other countries do is like a million times better. As an outsider, I feel like this is a sentiment that I have noticed becoming more and more mainstream over like the last 20 years or so. 2 decades ago, the idea of being anti-American or blaming America first was something that people were super on guard against, perhaps excessively so. But now I feel like it's kind of the opposite extreme, where so many Americans' default disposition is basically like, yeah, everything here sucks, we suck, sad, but true. Even worse, I feel like this type of attitude is now becoming a social signifier of being a sophisticated, educated, thoughtful American in particular. Like, the more intelligent and successful of an American you are, the more you're expected to be sort of down on your country and your fellow countrymen, with a very dark and pessimistic attitude towards your country being one of the defining traits of your worldview and personality. And I want to be very clear about something. I am not making a shallow partisan complaint here. As we will soon discuss, I think the sort of anti-Americanism that I'm describing is as much of a right-wing thing as it is a left-wing thing, maybe even more so. It honestly just feels more like a dark fever that's sweeping the US these days, affecting more and more Americans of every persuasion and walk of life. And you don't need to take my word for it. It is easy to find polls documenting the growing pessimism and doubt in the American public, and again, often among upper middle class Americans in particular. So today I thought we would talk a bit about this phenomenon and some theories I have about why it's happening. But before we get to that, let us hear a brief word from today's video sponsor, Brilliant. Hello, friends. So when I was a kid back in the day, one of the main ways we learned stuff was by using primitive educational software. Reader Rabbit, Logo Writer, Clockworks, and all sorts of other ones I'm sure you're too young to have ever heard of. And part of me has always wondered why this trend died out. Why isn't there more educational software today? I mean, I think it is relatively mainstream knowledge that most of us learn better by doing, and most of us obviously prefer touching comp to touching book. And that's why I was delighted to discover Brilliant.org. Brilliant is basically the 21st century equivalent of the educational software of the past, a site offering up all sorts of fun and interactive lessons on a whole host of subjects worth learning, everything from chemistry and coding to algebra and astrophysics. The lessons are all very rich and visual, and in some cases even gamified, making them fun and easy to get into, but with enough accelerating levels of challenge to provide a substantial education, which I'm not sure was always the case with Clockworks. Anyway, if you're in the mood to learn, why not head over to brilliant.org/JJ for a 30-day free trial, with the first 200 who sign up getting an additional 20% off a premium yearly subscription as well. Brilliant. Definitely better than whatever this was. Now, the United States is obviously not a perfect country. Even someone like me, who admires American culture very much, has to be able to admit that there are many very real, very unique problems plaguing American society that it is not irrational to be angry or upset or worried about. Gun massacres would be one huge example, political dysfunction another. Health is a big one too, with American life expectancy experiencing a small but significant decline in recent years. But all of that said, it is worth remembering that the US still sits near the top of the list of the safest, healthiest, freest countries that have ever existed. Even by the standard of other rich places like Europe or Canada, Americans generally make more money and enjoy a wider access to a greater variety of creature comforts than anyone else on Earth. America is still very much on the bleeding edge of much of the world's scientific, intellectual, and artistic innovation. And in the realm of foreign affairs, the United States continues to enjoy broad trust in directing the diplomatic and military priorities of the democratic world. So why then does it seem like Americans have never been more down on their own country? I got 4 things I want to blame. Number 1, stupidly extreme political rhetoric. One of the main characteristics of American elections is that they tend to be very competitive and very close. This in turn provides a lot of incentive for American politicians and their supporters to talk about politics in the most over-the-top way possible, because that helps frighten and energize voters to go to the ballot box and swing these tight races. As a result, I am sure you have noticed how American politics seems to be adopting a permanently apocalyptic tone in which voters are constantly told that the state of their country is so awful and the politicians of the other side are so irredeemably wicked. And this sort of language does seem to work in getting people motivated and excited about politics, even if it is completely out of touch with what 21st century America is actually like. I think it's fair to blame Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign for helping push this whole trend into high gear. He was a politician uniquely fond of dark and pessimistic rhetoric about America.
We are like, in many cases, a third world country.
With a good example being his horribly bleak 2017 inaugural address, the so-called American Carnage speech, which sought to justify his election with some of the most aggressively anti-American language ever heard from a president, as George Will summarized in the Washington Post. Oblivious to the moment and the setting, the always remarkable Trump proved that something dystopian can be strangely exhilarating. In what should have been a civic liturgy serving national unity and confidence, he vindicated his severest critics by serving up reheated campaign rhetoric about
rusted out factories, scattered like tombstones across the landscape,
and an education system producing students
deprived of all knowledge.
Yes, all. American Carnage-style rhetoric has become very popular with the American right post-Trump, and it often feels like every mainstream conservative in America just wants to spend all of their time whining about what a scum pit America has become, how it's all just illegal immigrants and drag queens and woke corporations and Marxist groomer teachers and all the rest. I guess a non-stop diet of this sort of stuff is supposed to persuade you to want to vote Republican, but it also just seems to be bumming a lot of people out. Like, what's even the point? This country has become a third world hellhole, as Ann Coulter subtitled one of her recent bestsellers. Over on the political left, however, things are hardly better. The freakout at Trump's unexpected election, along with the rise of Bernie Sanders, who was only slightly less of a demagogue than Trump, I think did quite a lot to consolidate an equally apocalyptic tone on the progressive side that is only getting more common. One of my favorite examples of this is The Atlantic, a center-left magazine that once sought to thoughtfully document the complexities of American life, but now just spends most of its time publishing doomer porn about how awful America is. Recent headlines include, "America is running out of time," "America is headed towards collapse," and of course, "We are living in a failed state." This is what sophisticated urban Americans are supposed to believe.
Wouldn't we say another country like ours was a failed state at this point?
Are we a failed state?
This country is an embarrassment. This is a failed state.
But in substance, it is often barely different from the fear-mongering of some Fox News demagogue like Tucker Carlson.
This is the behavior of a failed state.
Among young Zoomer lefty types, it is pretty much the same. You spend any time following leftist accounts on YouTube or TikTok, and you're bombarded with young Americans confidently describing their country as a
capitalist hellscape that I appear to be trapped in with no end in sight.
I don't believe that we are heading towards a dystopian society. I believe that the dystopian society is already here and we are full-blown in the midst of it.
So we're living in a fascist regime.
Usually from the comfort of their middle-class bedrooms. I will give President Biden credit for mostly standing against the grain of this wing of the left in a way that Trump clearly has not done with the right.
I am more optimistic, my word of this now. I am more optimistic about the possibilities for America than I ever have been. We are better positioned than any country in the world.
But Biden is also a very old man who seems to be operating on the assumption that today's Democrats want some sort of upbeat JFK-type character leading them. I wish that was true, but a lot of influential voices on the American left seem pretty eager to convince me otherwise. The second big thing I would blame for rising American self-loathing is kind of similar, and it is the increasing prevalence of conspiracy theories in American culture. Conspiracy theories can take a lot of different forms, but in an American context, there seems to be a particular fixation on ones that portray basically any institution of power in American society as being run by evil liars who have no higher ambition than abusing and enslaving the American people. The COVID outbreak obviously heralded a dramatic rise in this sort of thinking, but recent years have also seen a surge in increasingly grand and creative conspiracy theories about all sorts of things. Everything from how all the big politicians and movie stars belong to a pedophilic, blood-drinking sex cult, to old chestnuts about the Pentagon staging an elaborate cover-up of alien visitors, possibly because the aliens are also part of the blood-drinking sex cult. Obviously, a lot of this is just crackpot nonsense spread by professional idiots. But even among people who should really know better, I feel like a certain mode of conspiratorial thinking starts to passively set in when you are constantly surrounded by people spreading conspiracy theories all of the time. Conspiracy theories that turned out to be true is a very clickbaity headline you see a lot these days. And I think Americans face a lot of pressure to buy into at least one conspiracy theory to prove that they're not total saps. The Epstein suicide thing, I think, would be an example of a kind of smart person's conspiracy theory, even though in practice it is no less dumb than any of the others.
Season 2 is on the way, so in the end, he obviously didn't kill himself. Just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up! I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
A lot of the anti-corporate rhetoric that Americans like to thoughtlessly toss around can be a form of soft conspiracism as well. You know, this idea that the corporations are the shadowy puppet masters who have made a sham of American democracy.
So we've just given our politics to the corporations, and now the corporations run our politics.
And you're telling me we live in a democracy? No, we don't, man. It's over.
Even if you don't elaborate on this
Hey, you
thesis
guys.
in any way, just saying this
Sorry,
is
I'm
an
gonna
easy way
pause
to
the
get
video.
credit as an American who
Saw the
gets
chat,
it.
saw
But I
the
think
chat,
it is
saw the
easy to
chat.
lose track
Listen.
of the deeply anti-American.
If you're referring to the article, I don't know if we're talking about the same one, because I didn't really do much reading today. I saw people commenting on an article. I don't know if that's the one you're talking about, the one that says that Westerners are pushing Ukraine and Russia into peace talks. If it's that one, I have read people talking about it. Haven't read the article itself. However, I don't trust anonymous sources. I don't trust anonymous sources. I don't trust people saying that they have an inside source. I think Seymour Hersh has taught us that when people say they have a source and they don't name it, usually that's a bit suspicious. Their source may be a poor wife in his underwear. So I'm not trusting a word. I am coming from the position of everything I see with a source not named, I treat it as Twitter rumors. It's like, you know, oh, I've heard people talking about this. You did. Sure you did. I'm refusing to take it seriously. The Time article, I've saved videos reviewing the Time article, quotes anonymous source on Zelensky, and then it turns out to be Arestovich, who left his position and is now attempting to be the next president. In his head, he has a chance to be the next president of Ukraine. He doesn't. No one's gonna vote for him. But in his mind, he has a shot at the position, so he did the article in big part to try and make Zelensky seem like a deluded leader fighting against the will of his own people. So, you know, if there's not a name to the source, and as far as I've seen there was not a name, I treat it as Twitter rumors. I tweet it as if, you know, a commentary creator makes a video and goes, yeah, actually someone told me. Who? Topson, I actually wonder about this, and I can't. I've been quite busy last few days and I haven't been able to catch Topson live, But I wonder what he thinks about the Time article. Like, I'm sure he knows it was Arestovich, the source in it, right? I'm sure Thompson has to know about this. What is he willing to comment on it? It's Biden? Thank you, Biden. Thank you very, very much, Biden. That is cute. Yeah, it's my birthday today. I'm having to work in the afternoon, actually, because there is no God and no justice in this universe. So, you know, I have nothing to do now. That one in Croatian. You wanna hear it in Croatian? Palju. Palju. Oh fuck, we don't have we don't do the German thing. One Sonny Pevax, I would go Sonny Pevax if you wanna go full Bosnian, and then I would go Mule. And I have no idea what it means. If I said a pussy in any of those words, I'm sorry for saying pussy. Is a beautiful vowel. How dare you not have it? I remember when I was learning German, my friend in Germany tried to teach me the things, and I never quite was able to figure out what he wants. You wish yourself happy birthday. Yeah. Thank you. Which one of those words? The long one, that's birthday. Sunni Pevax. That is a long ass word. My German friend was trying to teach me. Do they call them? How do they call them? There's a word for those stupid letters. Umlauts. Is that what it is? I'm gonna tell you a little secret. I'm gonna tell you a little thing. Yeah, these things. A little fun fact. Okay, the difference between is the same as difference between Ukrainian h and h, which means there is no difference. You people are imagining it. You are lying to people outside of your language. Okay, that's what you're doing. You want people not to be able to learn your language, so you do the chaos little letters, you put the little chaos letters in, you pretend you know what they mean, you don't know what they mean, no one knows what they mean, okay? Like when we look at no one knows what these mean, no one knows what they're supposed to be looking like, especially, have you guys seen Hungarian? Have you guys seen Hungarian letters? Holy shit, let me show you Hungarians. Here's the CIA level secret, okay? There's no difference between a, there's no. C, no. E, no. E, no. All of them are the fucking same. Hungarians just hate your guts. And they want you to think you are unable to learn the language, okay? This is just ooh. That's it. All of them the same. Yes, night and morning streams, because I have to work in the afternoon. So, unfortunately, I'm right here. Right here at home, my dude. Right here. But yeah, thank you very much. I'm getting old as shit. My Twitch bio is finally proper now, because I put it, I did a dumbass thing this year where I changed my Twitch bio to reflect my real age, and I actually put it as 1 year too high. And then I just was too lazy to correct it. So now it's finally proper. Now it's finally correct. But yeah. ZZ, same. Oh, same. All of them, same. You're lying to yourself if you think you hear the difference. You don't. I would have shown you the German girls video, but the ads, why am I getting ads of like, I don't even know, 20 seconds? That should be illegal. That should be some sort of a war crime. No, that should be punishable by law. Show me, See, these little things.
Now this one is probably the easiest out of the three ones, especially if you already speak English. Generally, the umlauts are based on their underlying vowels, but have a slightly different pronunciation. So the vowel A is
also, I'm gonna get a new phone, hopefully.
And to change it to the
I'm gonna get a new phone, because my old phone, this is my old phone. You can't see it. Can you see how broken he is? I don't know if you can see how broken he is, but he's like very broken. And I might be getting an old new one Like it's not gonna be fresh new, but it's gonna be new, and I'm very, very happy for that. It's Galaxy something, Samsung Galaxy. Is it S20? I don't know. I'm gonna let you know. I basically I have sent my boyfriend as a man buying the phone because I don't know phones. It's not something I'm too good at. I'm good at being a fucking loser about researching. When I tried to research Samsung phones to figure out which I wanted to get, I've learned that Samsung actually used to be selling fishes when they started as a company. Did you know about that? It's a Korean company. Samsung means 3 stars. So, ha ha ha. So yeah, that was the extent of my research, trying to figure out how Samsung grew as a company, and I still know nothing about what Galaxy phones are and what makes them special. So I've sent the man to go buy it. Same birthday as my girlfriend. Oh really? Oh, that is cute. I did. I sent a reminder. It said birthday week. Birthday week. A week before a birthday should be enough for you to prepare. Yeah, Samsung started, look at this. They started by selling fishes. It was like fishes and bullshit like that, and then they expanded more and more and more, and then they reached whatever they have right now. Yeah, dried fish. Samsung started out as a small trading company with 40 employees. It dealt in dried fish, locally grown groceries, and noodles. Come on, and then they grew to Samsung we have today. How cool is that? How cool is that shit? Just like 40 people trading around with dried fish. Social media and Googling shit, why they're also expensive. Yeah, I'm pissed off about that too. Like, I don't... The only game I play is Teamfight Tactics. It's not even that... You know, it's not like I need it for fancy shit. I legit use it for nothing exceptional. They are all expensive. Buy a used one. Buy a used one. There's a bunch of nerds. By the way, my brother being one of them. He's in Germany right now. Maybe he's gonna be selling his phone recently. He's a fucking loser. He has to buy the newest generation iPhone whenever the newest generation iPhone comes out. So he keeps on selling old iPhones that he used, and they're like still good. God, I'm loser. A loser of a kid. But there's a lot of them. Okay, I went into we have Croatian. I don't know what would be like the equivalent. It's like Facebook Marketplace. You know how people sell used shit on Facebook Marketplace? We got Njuskalo for it, and Njuskalo is where you go to buy used shit. I went here to look for phones. There's a bunch of like options of fancy new shit, which is just, I guess it's being sold because people buy them for their kids, and then a newer generation comes out, and then people, you know, buy a new kid. No, they buy a new fancy phone, and then the kid has to sell the old one, so they just sell them around for like relatively cheap. Fucking iPhones, popular iPhones. Man, just man. So yeah, get one of these, get one of these. Fancy new headphones. League of Legends or just TFT? Just TFT. I want to play League of Legends, but my experiences playing League of Legends have not been enjoyable. So I'm kind of just staying in Teamfight Tactics. I don't even know it's my problem with Teamfight Tactics. I want to play it, but I don't really. So like every once in a while I will start a game before going to sleep in my bed. I fall asleep, I lose the game. My rank is tanking. You can literally look at my matches, and it's like if I do it throughout the day, it's good, and then I do it throughout the night, it's bad because I fall asleep in the middle of the fucking game. I love the game, and I like the auto chess. Games like that. I used to be playing the OG auto chess too. I don't know if you play that game. It's kind of ugly. It's an ugly game. But it's fun, and like you can position your troops in different ways, and you have to look for troop synergies. And then whenever there's a new update, I find it really interesting to look into like little percentage changes and everything, and how different synergies work with each other. It's a fun little thing to play. How are your fancy new headphones? New phone came out even though my current phone works fine. Yeah, my brother. He's actually like, this is I think first time since he got a job in Germany that he is having to pause on buying a new iPhone, the newest iPhone, because he got into a new apartment recently. So he actually took his old new iPhone to get repaired, and he's going to be using that one for a while more. You have not known suffering. You have not known suffering, my dude, until you have to listen to a grown man complaining that his old new iPhone is now on repairs, and then he will have to use the old new iPhone for a few months until his apartment situation, his fancy new apartment, really big one, gets stable enough so he can buy the new iPhone. It's like the first world problems, but now my browser opens in 0.2 seconds instead of 0.3. Yeah, I don't even. No, you know what's the app? You know what they have? The fancy new phones. You know what they have? My boyfriend has this. It pisses me off. When he goes on charging, he doesn't do the 1%, 2%, 3% like our loser phones do. No. The fancy new phone, it counts in like tiny what's the word? Fractions. It's like you put it on charge and it's like, oh yeah, I'm charged 1.01%, 1.02%, 1.03%. You can count every single little step it takes to reach a new percentage of your battery. Pisses me the fuck off. I wish I could get my Teamfight Tactics on one of those old Nokia phones. I would be fucking happy. This is just a waste of everything. It's a waste of space. You know how many games I have on this one? I don't even play them. There's so many space. I don't know what to do with it. I have so many apps that I like never open. It's such a useless thing. Oh nein, mein Telefon ist das so. No, wait, how was that? Kaputt gemacht. Oh nein, mein iPhone is now kaputt gemacht. I hope they'll last for a decade. Decade headphones? What sort of... Oh wait, copy. Let me look. How fancy are they? Are you one of those rich kids? Are you one of those rich kids that need to ban you from chat? Oh, getting one of these. Fair thing, looking fancy, my dude, looking fancy. They're wireless? How good are wireless things? I'm scared of wireless things. Don't play League, it's a cancerogen. I tried... I tried to get into actually playing the fucking game. And at one point, I remember my first game that I played with like real players, that was not training, but like a proper game. I chose healer, I chose Soraka. I'm playing Soraka there. I'm healing like crazy because it's an easy position. Healer is a pussy position, okay? My fellow healers know this. If you're scared of confrontation with people, you play a fucking healer, okay? No one bullies a healer. So I'm playing a healer, I'm doing my healing, I'm doing great shit. I keep on like every once in a while using the ult so everyone gets healed, so everyone feels the little boost, so they like me more. The psychological thing works great. They keep on bullying, I think it was the jungler. They keep on bullying another one of the players. It was so annoying because like, it's my first game in normal mode, right? It's my first game out of training. I know it's all of theirs. Like either their first game or they're like really shit. So they are teamed up with me. But you know, you wouldn't be playing with me, a person straight out of training, if you were like any sort of a proper rank or whatever. The fact you're here with me means you're shit at the game. They all bullied the fucking jungler. The jungler was just trying. Maybe the jungler also had just first game out of training. It was so annoying to watch. And I wasn't even the one getting bullied, I was just the one feeling bad. So I basically never really went into League of Legends again. I'm not playing that fucking thing, it's horrible. People keep giving me new phones, and I won't be using any of them until this one breaks up. Yeah, like that. For a while, I used to be having... I think it was when when I started high school, if I'm not mistaken. There was this whole thing with like relatively shitty new phones coming out, and I used to be getting them. Like I had a backlog of a bunch of them to just use when the old one breaks down, and they would be breaking down rather easily. I used a Windows phone for a few times because like some of them were Windows and they were really cheap to get, but it was so weird. It was so weird. And we're talking about like, bro, I lived most of my life as like the poorest kid in the family, one of the poorest kids in the family, of course. So then suddenly getting a backlog of phones that you can just like keep around, man. And I still was using the one that I had for the longest time until it breaks, because switching phones is fucking weird. I don't know how you people, I don't know how you organize your space to do this. Like with this one, the apps that I have, I don't use lots of apps, but the apps that I have, I feel like are absolutely fucking crucial. I don't know how the switch is going to happen. I have to like put my accounts on the new one, gotta figure out my passwords. I don't know a single password. It's a mess. It's a goddamn mess. Jungle always gets the shit. Jungle seems to be the hardest position. I don't know why people play it. Jungle should be made illegal. It is the hardest position I feel to be having in that game. I'm still not entirely sure what you're supposed to do as a jungler. Like, do you just run around? Is that what you do as a jungler? Do you just run around? Messiah? I don't want to talk about Messiah. What is this? Show me the time hit base. By the way, I saved videos on time. I saved. Where's my friend though? Here he is. I've saved Roman. I know we mentioned Roman yesterday, that we're gonna be hate watching Roman. What else do I have? I have to close this tab if we watched that yesterday. Save the new crowd video. Save the new Zaluzhny video. Specifically from our man. Where is he? Show him, Arthur. It was Friday's one, okay? It's old, it's recycled content, I know. But part of me is like mostly interested in the time piece. I'm interested in him talking about Arestovich. I really want him to point out what happened with Arestovich. But also, I'm really interested in Roman because Bopal said he watched the video. And I don't know, I didn't expect Bopal to be watching Russians. So I'm kind of interested in how bad it was. Because I'm assuming it was really bad. Probably gonna rock a Z tracksuit soon. Ooh, you know he's gonna start wearing that white flag. White of the supposed Russian opposition. I feel he's gonna go that direction. Because you already hear in his conversation style how he is falling for Navalny bullshit slowly. And the same thing Arestovich is, by the way. I don't know if I showed you the Arestovich interview. I need to show you the Arestovich interview. He did an interview just a few days ago. Fuck, I saw a lot of screenshots, and I don't know where they are. But the interview, basically, he was talking about the future of... Oh, found it. Medusa. It was a Medusa thing. He was talking about the future of what he wants to see in Ukraine and what sort of relationship he wants Ukraine to be having with Russia. He basically believes that Ukraine will have to rebuild its relationship with Russia. He believes that when Putin leaves power, Russians are gonna go to being a normal country. We will wait for Putin to leave power, and with the new Russian leadership, we will return to the issues of the occupied territories. I don't know. So he has a very strong feeling that only Putin, Shoigu, and some people associated with them really want war in Russia. All other people are quite sane, which I absolutely disagree with. They understand Russia is part of civilized West. I absolutely disagree with. They want to return to normal life. I absolutely disagree with. So that Russians will stop being a boogeyman and their property will not be taken away and sanctions will not be imposed. I can agree that Russians want to stop being a boogeyman and they want us to stop, imposing sanctions on them. I don't agree they're doing any of this because they actually disagree with the invasion. I think they're doing this because they are pieces of shit and they don't want to be accountable for their actions. the fact that Arestovich is saying this, I think it's kind of cute. I think it's kind of cute. I would love to see Russian responses to it. When I saw the video was published, which was yesterday, there was still not many responses to it, apart from Ukrainians mostly. So I do kind of wonder what Russians themselves are saying about this, because no way in hell is this true. He is saying that he will explain to Ukrainians that it is impossible to return to 1991 borders of Ukraine. When Ukrainians survive the winter, the number of people who want a war to the bitter end will decrease. This is what they said about the last winter too. I'm not entirely sure where he's going with that. Even if we reach the borders of 1991, he says, which is absolutely incredible, who guarantees that the war will end there? The war may continue further. We need to stop the war. Yes, by winning over Russia, you fucking idiot. I don't know what he's trying to say about this. He proposes not just to surrender the occupied territories to Russia, but to join NATO, to receive political military guarantees from the bloc, and then to calmly wait until the regime changes in Russia, which I also think is inexcusable. I'm not too happy with anything that he is saying, to be honest. I'm not happy with any single word that he has said in this interview. I think most of it was shit. 1991? Yeah, actually, it was an eventful year. It was an eventful year. We had lots of things happening in 1991 in Balkans. When being bullied as a kid, they learned best coping strategy is just sit there and take it. And now are trying to apply that to world politics. I think it's much less coherent than that. I think the left, the online left, hates Israel because Israel is supported by USA, and I think the online left takes pride in being against USA. I think that's as much thought as they're putting into this. It's like Hassan, you know, how he automatically, when he was learning about the Russian invasion on Ukraine, the first few days, he like automatically took the side of Russia. It's because it's anti-USA, and leftists like being anti-USA. You just take the option that USA doesn't support. If by some chance USA were to start supporting Palestinians right now, these people would be supporting Palestinians less. I genuinely don't believe they have any other conviction here apart from just being anti-USA. Which is an interesting, by the way, situation. I mentioned this in Discord, but in Skadefron's chat there was a fight yesterday between him and Nikki. Because Skade was watching Russia Today, and Nikki, who is in Russia, she is pro-Russian, but she is in Russia. She was pointing out that, hey, that's a shit source. No, is it Russia 1? Russia 1, I believe it was. But she was like, hey, this source of information, it's like a shit source of information in peacetime already. And it's even worse during wartime. Like, why are you watching this to learn about what's happening in Palestine? Why are you watching this? And she was trying to make a case for Israel having the right to defend itself, which I thought was an interesting way of looking at this. It's like, you know, this little like squares of where people fall politically when it comes to this. I feel like the second you take the pro-Russian side, you're already in imbecile territory. But the fact she is taking pro-Russian and also pro-Israeli right to defense, I thought that was interesting. I do wonder if she like legit believes Russia is defending itself. Because for Skade, he is taking the pro-Russia, pro-Palestine. And I think that's genuinely, like, I don't think it gets dumber than that. I don't think it gets possibly more stupid. But his chat was trying to have the whole fight about how all Hamas crimes are actually made up by Israel. At one point, they make a claim that the German tourist who was killed at the festival, that she wasn't actually killed by Hamas, but actually she was genuinely taken to a hospital in Gaza for treatment, and then the Israeli airstrike killed her. You know, stuff like that. Very deluded people. Everyone pro-Russia, pro-Palestine. I believe zero brain cells in that position. Absolutely stupid. Might makes right position. Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. It's like pure, would you call that realism? political realism, right? Like countries being allowed to have their own spheres of influence type of a thing. It was interesting. Yeah, I don't really follow what Nikki says, to be completely honest. She's always been a bit of a Russian involved person for me, so I don't quite care too much, to be completely honest. I'm trying not to take in too much Russian opinions over this whole situation. She seems to be really, really pro-Russian. She has people in her chat who constantly call her out on her just very pro-Russian propaganda. She will be very, very supportive of this. But you know, interesting position. I found it interesting that they disagree with each other. But I think it's interesting to me that, you know, they both are existing on the same position, but they have vastly different views. Palestine was originally pro-communist. Oh, damn. Oh, I didn't even know about that. And by the way, apparently, good debate going to be today on Destiny's channel. So if you're willing to watch some debates on Israel-Palestine situation, he's debating some dude bro. I don't know who the dude bro is, but people seem really hyped because apparently the dude does a lot of research and is supporting Palestine, while Destiny, I think he's more of a... I'm not entirely sure who he supports, to be honest. So far I know he supports Israeli right to existence, and I do know that he doesn't see them as an imperialist force, basically. So I think that's what the most of the debate is going to be about. So if you're interested in like little tidbits of history and everything, you know, go watch, maybe you'll learn something new. Apparently the pro-Palestine person is really, really educated too. I will likely be watching the VOD of the debate because I will be working, so I won't be able to watch the debate itself. But, you know, it's a good way to get a bunch of new information. Really start theory with being pro-Russia? It probably stems from a form of it. Yeah, I feel it's... I feel it would fit in well with the idea of like countries, strong countries having a right of some sort to their own area of influence. I feel it would make sense. It's like, it's not a position I agree with. I think, what's the word? I can support both pro-Ukrainian positions, so pro-Ukraine, pro-Israel, I can see it. Pro-Ukraine, pro-Palestine, I can see it. And I can support both of these, and I think if you fall into any of these camps, we are likely going to be okay-ish with each other, unless you are like legit very strongly ethno-religiously discriminatory. But I don't know. He went hard against Israel on the settlements. Yeah, so far he seems like quite balanced. From what I've seen, he seems okay-ish. I don't know, I haven't really seen him having bad takes so far on it. Though he is doing a thing. There's a thing. Ooh, there's a thing. I saw him do it. I went on YouTube just before the stream. Let me try to see if I get it in my recommended again. He started doing the Ben Shapiro thing. Where I got into recommended his video. Not this one. But I got into recommended his video in which he is debating some woman, and she like used TikTok as a source, and then he was, you know, surprised about it or whatever. It was interesting. He's doing the Ben Shapiro thing. You know how Ben Shapiro, which of you guys, have you been into the Ben Shapiro rabbit hole when you were in like high school or whatever? Because I was. And there was a lot of Ben Shapiro videos, which was like a Ben Shapiro owns a feminist, and it's him like debating some random ass college kid. And it, you know, Destiny videos, titles and the thumbnail combination sometimes give me a similar energy. Fairly pro-Israel without actually thinking, just because they hate Hassan. Oh, damn, that's interesting. That's interesting. As much as I support hating Hassan, that's an interesting position to take. Huh. I would love to figure out what his actual stance is. I haven't really watched his last few streams either, to be honest. The same way I wasn't able to catch Topson. So I don't really know what both of their views are on this, to be honest. I don't know what Topson thinks about this at all. I did see people saying that Destiny's position seems to basically be that whichever side you land on, so whether you land on pro-Israel or pro-Palestine side, it seems to be based on whether you see Israel as having a right to exist as a state, which I thought was an interesting analysis of why, you know, of what both camps believe in. I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I don't know the details. There was no... Oh, Ben Shapiro was relatively big in mine. Relatively big at the time. He was doing debates with like feminazis. In like, you know, they all had cold hair and they were all quite fat, and then he would put them in like very unattractive positions in his thumbnails, and then people would come laugh at them. And it was a relatively cheap way to score points with your audience before they even watch the video. Sometimes it feels like Destiny is doing that, but also Destiny is like based as fuck on Ukraine, so I respect the dude anyways. Hey, thank you, Mediac, thank you. We had some other crazy shit back then. Oh shit. I hope it wasn't too bad. I hope it wasn't too bad. We didn't. I don't know. We had Ben. I don't know who else we had. We had a big phase of being like really into religion. That's what I remember. We had a phase of being really, really, really religious to the point of it being absurd. Booster seat at the universities because most students were taller than him. That's too. That's too. A tiny little man, bro. He does have interesting way of debating, though. I don't know if you analyze that shit ever. It's interesting. It's basically the what's it called? Vatniks do that sometimes. The method where they just like shoot a bunch of information out of you, and a lot of this information is displaced. It doesn't belong where he's putting it, so he will cite something that makes absolutely no fucking sense, but just the fact that he is citing it makes people think he has more credibility. You don't actually think about, hey, is this statistic he is citing relevant to the claim he's making? No, you hear him citing a statistic and you go, okay, this man has read something. This man did research. This man knows what he is talking about, and he kinda doesn't. So, an interesting man. Interesting that he gained so much popularity. I guess he was one of the first to practice, the rap god style of debating. I guess he was the first one in that part of political space to practice that and also to brag about it so openly. So that's what gained him so much popularity. Yeah, I don't know what else it was, because if you look at his old debates right now, I think there's a reason why he seldom does them these days, and I think the reason is that people have kind of started figuring out how crappy he actually is at it. Hey, Gersh Gallop, true, that's the one.
This is the video that's gonna get
also Roman guys.
Zboga. What is up, guys? It is your boy Roman, your favorite neighborhood Russian, and in today's video, guys, I would like to bring up the topic of countries during war and the collective responsibility of the citizens.
Wait, I just got salty over him calling himself our favorite neighborhood Russian. I need to show you this one account. Here he is. This is Dennis. And you gotta be following Dennis. Okay, Dennis is supposed to be your favorite neighborhood Russian. Okay, fuck Roman. Roman is useless. Here's Dennis. And Dennis is quite based. Dennis is quite helpful to Ukrainians. Dennis has been quite brave in responding to Russians very openly, very loudly, by the way. Going to protests. So he went to protest in Moscow. I don't know if you guys follow that. That was interesting because he basically, how do I say this? He basically said that he is going to go to this protest in Moscow, which was against the invasion. He does a whole thing on his Twitter where he prepares people for the fact that he's gonna go to this protest, right? He's like, guys, if I get arrested, you know, something, don't worry, I probably won't be commenting in a few days, but like, I'm likely gonna be fine. He goes to Moscow to this protest, he takes pictures, there's like 2 people there. There's like 2 people there. No one, basically. He just kept on posting about how disappointed he is in Russia, how disappointed he is in Russians, how disappointed he is in Moscow, which, you know, I feel is something that we all could feel at the time. But he has been very, very based in all of his activism after that, so no, do support that. 2 governments in this war. I'd pick the one which doesn't target civilians with the goal of ethnic cleansing. I feel like when we talk about Israel-Palestine, that situation is a bit more problematic because both of them have, how do I say this? Would I say officials, governments that do have a goal of that ethnic cleansing. Both of them seem to be interesting. So I don't really think you can pick a side to support clearly in the situation. Israelis have recently done, I don't know if you guys have seen the posts. Who exactly was publishing it? I thought it was photoshopped at first and then I figured it wasn't. It was actually a real thing. But basically the whole idea with, oh nice, if I refresh Twitter it gives me the little balloons. A thing with wanting the entirety of the area to be Israel, like just Israel, only Israel, that's it, Israel. No state of Palestine existing, no 2-state borders, just and only Israel. So I think if you want to pick a good side in Israel-Palestine conflict, I think you will fail immediately from the start. I don't know if that's really a possible thing to do, to be honest. I don't really know if we can choose a side to support unconditionally. It's okay to look into the nuance of the situation and to acknowledge that, hey, you know, Hamas did do a terrorist attack and Israel does have the right to defend itself, absolutely. But at the same time, let's be real, both of these sides want a country based on their own ethno-religion, and I don't really think there's a way to see either as good. Oh shit, Bala, thank you so much, thank you. If I had to choose, yeah, I feel like it's impossible to choose. Especially based on that metric, because, you know, both are attempting to kill civilians. I feel it's impossible to choose. I feel you wouldn't be able to make a choice, really. Because, like, no matter which side you would try to side with, it would be quite easy for people to just point you to cases of them supporting ethnic cleansing. It's not really a... It's not really a one side good, other side bad type of thing. Currently, it's both sides are quite okay with the idea of eradicating the other. Israel doesn't want an ethno-religious state, they need it, or otherwise Jews will never be safe. Oh yeah, I can understand them wanting to have a Jewish state, fully, absolutely. I do think that them calling for... Fuck, I'm trying to find the specific photo and I can't find it. I don't know if I even saved it. But I do think that them referring to the lands as Israeli lands only is creating an interesting situation. And I do think it's supporting the idea of ethnic cleansing. I definitely don't think there's a possibility of 2 religions, you know, coexisting equally in a religious state. Like, you know there's going to be discrimination, you know they're not going to be treating other religions fairly, just it isn't possible. And expecting a secular state also feels a bit too much from either side. yeah, basically, I think if you're trying to choose a side to support, I think you are going to be failing in it. Hey, yeah, master. We're watching our least favorite neighborhood Russian. We will be watching the Times Time the article review, and yeah, I'm having to go to work today, so that kind of sucks. Do you have a state in Russia? Oh yeah, I actually looked into it. I remember looking into it. Do I have this on my Patreon? Because I saw they have a Russian republic, and I was like, what? Impossible. A Jewish republic, and I was quite surprised. You know, it's Russians. You wouldn't expect them to be too religiously proper. But yeah, if you look into it, it's like 1% Jews or something. So, Fuck, I want to find it. I want to find the Russia thing just to check the numbers. And I don't know what the numbers are. Oh, right now? Oh, I feel like right now, any sort of a protest in Israel that could be seen as a protest supporting, here it is, Jewish Autonomous Oblast, that could be seen as protest supporting Palestine would be, oof. I feel Jewish people currently want revenge, and as much as I feel it's within their right to have these feelings, because they were victims of a terrorist attack and a bunch of civilians were just killed. One of them died just, I think yesterday. She was in the hospital for 25 days. And she passed away from her wounds that she has suffered at the festival, right? I remember reading the news about another victim. It was also, I think, yesterday or the day before, where her parents got the news that she is not a hostage in Gaza. She's not a hostage in Gaza because she never actually reached Gaza. They killed her at the festival too. She only got identified today. So I definitely understand wanting some sort of revenge. I can absolutely see that, and I can see that any sort of a more moderate position in Israel right now possibly doesn't exist, because, you know, they were a victim of a terrorist attack. Dagestanis are like, where are them Jews at? Did go to the Jewish state? I mean, there's like 0.6% of Jews. They got a Jewish state and it's mostly Russians. It's it. Judaism ran counter the Bolshevik Party's policy of atheism, but Lenin still wanted to appease minority groups to gain their support and provide examples of tolerance. So he tried to allow them to have their own, you know, oblast. But then the area that they have received for the oblast has been chosen for military economic reason. It was often infiltrated by China, while Japan also wanted Russia to lose the provinces. In 1928, 654 Jews arrived to settle in the area, and then almost half of them left because of severe conditions. And then there were torrential rains that flooded the crops, and then there was an outbreak of anthrax that killed their cattle. Okay? And then in 1930s, what do the Soviets do? They do a promotional campaign to get more Jews to move there, because that's what you want in a situation where people who have moved there are fucking suffering. Heck yeah. But yes, they still do have the oblast. Is it working well? Not really. Not really. According to an article published in 2010, Yiddish is the language of instruction in only one of their 14 public schools. So, no. It's like, they just call it a Jewish oblast, but it doesn't seem to be having any relation to Jews, actually. Only difference between actual Judaism, Christianity and Islam is that the former two are somewhat less pedophilic. Huh. I feel that could be discussed. I feel we could discuss the level of pedophilia. But yeah, I understand the calls for atheism arguments. I think that we also gotta understand, you know, that it's not really a call that's going to be understood in the area of Middle East. Like, it just isn't. Jews are not going to give up on the idea of creating a Jewish state in the same way that Muslims around them will not stop hating on the idea of a Jewish state in their little part of the world. I don't think anyone here is willing to move to a more secular form of government. Actual Israeli and actual Palestinians wanted just to end. This is way too much. Yeah, there would be an interesting research, let's say, in trying to obtain the opinions of actual civilians. That would be interesting. I don't really know what opinions they would be holding, but currently both governments seem to be rather open to creating more bloodshed. Hey, yo, Reda, how are you doing? How is life going? How is everything? But yeah, also there's no separatist movements from the region because the Jews have already left, so there's no need to have a separatist movement in the region. The Jews already are not there, it's mostly Russians, and Russians are not going to have separatist movements against Russia itself. That is not going to happen. By the way, also I saved the Neapolitичni video on what is a nation. I saved a video on what a nation is. We'll see if we will be going through it or not, but interesting position. Interesting question, I think, and we did have interesting conversations similar to that. I remember specifically yesterday, but we didn't really touch on it too much because I wanted to do it later and then I forgot. But there was someone in chat basically doing the whole thing with what is a nation and what is a state, and whether a nation is a nation without a state to represent it. And I think something like this is often seen, even today, like I saw someone in pro-Israel ranks on Twitter using it as an argument that basically Palestinians do not exist as a nation because Palestine has not ever been a state having autonomy, which is not really how it works. It's not really... you can be, like, a nation still exists even if it is not being represented by a state. A nation still does exist, and it's okay to acknowledge that, you know, their rights should be respected. It's okay to acknowledge there's a difference between a nation and a state.
Of those countries regarding the actions of the governments. You see, guys, myself as a Russian citizen who's left Russia right after the start of this special military operation in Ukraine, I had to suffer a bunch of annoying setbacks because of my citizenship.
Which he deserved, by the way. Fuck him. Nation requires a certain culture. Culture depends on the nation. It's about what nation has culture. Yeah. Nation is defined by whether it has a culture, but nation is not defined by whether it has a state. It's more like we hating than coming as refugees and colonizing the land and claiming it as the land is theirs, and the whole world agrees to that. I think also though there's an interesting it's an interesting message to write out in that regard, because I do think there's this perception, especially when it comes to Western, like I don't know where exactly you're from, but there's this perception in especially Western places that Jews are European, that Israelis are European Jews. Like the whole thing, and I see it mostly with Americans, like sorry to Americans, but like y'all people are really, really into like race. Americans tend to be trying to represent this as like white Israelis fighting brown Palestinians, when most Jews of Israel were on this land before. Like most of them are not from Europe. It isn't. A lot of the refugees did come from European lands to the land of Israel, sure, definitely. But like this whole thing with representing them as racially separate groups, it doesn't really hold water, does it? Let's be real. Sapmi is a nation that existed longer than there has been states in the region, but it has never been a state. Oh damn! Oh damn! Never even heard of them. I can understand that. It's like with Croatia. You know, we existed as a nation when we didn't have a Croatian state. Like it's understandable. And then some nations do demand to be represented by a state, and I do feel we should give them the right to. I do feel it should be provided to them. Nation is basically a political manifestation of ethnicity, and nationalism is the belief that the group ought to have a state. I can see that. Yeah. You guys pick a side? I think picking a side is by itself wrong. I don't think you should be picking a side. I don't think you can pick a side. I don't think you're able to do that. If you are being like honest in this conversation, I don't think you are able to pick a side. Because I do think that the right of Israel and the right of Palestine to have their own state both should be respected. And in that way, you know, I don't really think you're picking a side. I think you have to acknowledge that both of them have legitimate reasons to want to have an autonomous state and to want to have representation of their own. Like, I can understand that. So, yeah, wait, I haven't opened. Million IQ. Spellung. English is hard, my dude. English is fucking hard, okay? I woke up like a few hours ago. And my mind is still like far behind. I'm not used to thinking at this time. I'm used to be in... oh, This Land Is Mine. Oh, that's a great video. Oh, that is a great video. I'm used to be on my workplace at this time, and usually I like wake up mentally at around noon, and then I almost have to go to home. My workday is almost over. I try to do a thing with like automatizing most of my workday. This is me attempting to think and not really being able.
Manufacturers and services left Russia and took a stand that way. Russia has been pretty much economically cut off from the world with the SWIFT ban.
I wish based
actually banning Russians from using their cards outside of Russia.
All of that is good.
To make it harder for people to leave Russia if they don't want to fight, or
I don't give a shit what you don't want.
To spend their bloody Russian money outside of Russia, therefore giving benefit to countries that are not Russia. Great solid move, you guys. And also...
That's making no sense though. Frenchies in Algeria? How do you think Frenchies got to Algeria? Deuteronomy in Jaws? Ah, huh. Huh, that makes sense. That's cool. You know what? How do you think the French colonization of Algeria started? But yeah, so far a based start of the video. Every single Western response to Russia is deserved. Every single thing they did so far deserved, so...
There's been all sorts of travel and visa restrictions imposed for Russian citizens.
Also deserved.
Initially, when this all happens, my take on it was basically, yes, I guess it's pretty annoying, but maybe I have to just suck it up, because I guess this is what happens to the citizens of the country that, like, bombs children or whatever, right? Well guys, today I would like to talk about it again, because in the light of the recent Israel and Palestine crisis, you know, I've been kind of noticing an interesting double standard in how, you know, the West thinks about such things as collective responsibility, and whether the citizens of a particular country should be considered responsible for the actions of their governments. And quite honestly guys, I can't really come up to any other conclusion for myself other than, yes, the West is hypocritical. And once again, this is just a proposition. I want you guys to chime in and give me your take as well, because
I can give you my take right now. I think Roman is eating shit, and I'm watching this video only because it's my birthday today, and I feel like hating some Russians. I think he's eating shit. I think he ate a lot of it already through the start of this video, and we have only reached a 1.5 minute mark. I think he's gonna gobble on a lot of it in the rest of the video. The double standard, no. Oh yeah, the West, he's hypocritical because they are sanctioning this one country bombing children and not the other one. No. No, all of this just bullshit. It's bullshit arguments presented so far. Not even to mention that at one point he goes into this bitching about us not allowing Russians in our countries if poor little Russians want to fight, want to run away from a war that, you know, they supported. They don't want to fight right now because it's their ass going to the front line. They were absolutely okay with all of the bloodshed happening at the hands of their state previously, plus the invasion of Ukraine that happened in 2014 and the war that happened later. They are running away now specifically because now their own ass is the one being sent to the front line. I couldn't give less of a shit about them. Just like genuinely. If the only damage I think this is causing is that their meat waves actually are managing to get some gains, and that is what I am a bit worried about. Like the meat wave strategy actually sometimes does have victories, but like for all I care, they couldn't give less of a crap about them, you know? If you don't feel like going to the front line, go to a fucking protest. As a land before World War II, it was Palestine. No. No, Palestine did not have their own land before World War II. That is not true. It was British mandate after World War I because the Ottoman Empire broke up and then the Brits got the ownership of the land. Palestine was not like a sovereign state of its own. No, it wasn't. Using the war to cause chaos and destabilization. But also doing shit like painting swastikas. Hey, I saw that. They were doing this previously too. And not even to remind you guys of Russians going to draw swastikas on Ukrainian buildings in Europe to make it seem like Ukrainians are doing this. You remember that one? I believe it was a German. Do you guys remember the German dude? Who we read the news on stream specifically. I think he got... was it like 4 daily wages punishment for drawing swastikas around on Ukrainian cars? Like, come on. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they are trying to do. So yeah, absolutely, this war is being used by them to get attention away. And I do think there was even a comment on this, I think in the UN, by the Israeli representative, who has commented on how ridiculous it is to have to listen to Russia, like pretend to give a shit about children in Gaza and about bombing the civilians in Gaza, when Russia keeps on attacking Ukraine still. Like, come on, you don't give a shit about civilians, really? You're just trying to take the attention away from a war that you have started. If they lose lots of freaks by doing meat waves, but if they get land with people, then it's GG to Russia. Yeah, that's it. So, you know. Oh. Oh shit, wait. Wrong browser. I had the wrong browser up. It's Putin, it's not Russia. Oh, coward. It was more Palestine. No. It was not Palestine nor Israel. It was the British mandate. There was no Palestine nor Israel. It was the British mandate. The British mandate ruled over the lands from the World War II after the Ottoman Empire broke up. The British mandate has proposed to split Palestine and Israel into their own states, to which Palestinians did not agree with. This is where Israel got its independence, and then it got attacked by a coalition of other states, and then it managed to defend itself because it was getting, you know, substantial support. But yeah, it was land under the British mandate. It was land under British mandate. Didn't Russia transform a lot of Ukrainian cities and populations into piles of quicklime? Yeah. Yep. They still keep on bombing civilians while they're sleeping. They still keep on kidnapping Ukrainian children and attempting to re-educate them into being Russian. They still keep on using rape as military tactic. They still keep on having torture rooms in every single fucking village that they occupy. They still keep on being a genocidal absolute nation. They pretend to care about civilians in Gaza because currently this is the anti-West position in the minds of Russian followers, right? Currently it is what is popular with them. They don't give a shit about Gaza. They don't give a shit about Muslims. We're talking about Russians, you know? Wait, what do you mean by US isn't British? Using drones and personnel in coordinated actions to push Ukraine out. Yeah. I've seen Ukrainians worried about the amount of Russian drones they are using. Apparently they have quite a lot. They got quite a lot, okay? So the situation definitely is worrying. We do have very strong people on the ground on the side of Ukraine, and they are fighting a very, very brave battle. But, you know, if you ever think about whether it's a good time to donate, it is. It fucking is. US is the US, not Britain. Like US getting... Yeah, US fought for its independence from the British lands, yeah. Which part there is comparable to Israel or Palestine? But Gaza and Palestine got bombed. Palestine got partial cover by the Iron Dome. Well, Hamas... Oh, Israel. Right, Hamas uses the bodies of Gazans to protect themselves. Ah, that's what you mean. Yeah. Absent of the Ukraine war, they probably would have leaned more towards Israel, but now they're taking a more pro-Palestinian stance to try and undermine the West. It's like with Armenia. I think it's very similar to the situation in Armenia and how they have betrayed Armenia later. Russia never really cared about Armenia as a state. Russia wanted to be anti the West. And because the West, you know, Turkey is supporting Azerbaijan, so Azerbaijan was allied to the West and to NATO, right? Russia has taken the side of Armenia. It never gave a shit about Armenia. When Armenia got attacked by Azerbaijan, Russia did nothing. When Armenians were asking Russia to open the Lachin corridor and to allow their people humanitarian aid, Russia did nothing because Russia never really gave a shit about their allies. They just used them while it was helpful. So, you know.
Эй, парень, ты ведь хочешь победить Путина, чтобы война скорее закончилась?
I should this video.
Ну да. И что для этого нужно сделать? Ну, я точно не знаю. Возможно, надо помочь Украине в борьбе с агрессором.
Ну что за бред? Неужели ты хочешь спонсировать убийство наших невиноватых, обманутых мальчиков, которые пришли убивать украинцев совсем не со зла, а по вине одного Путина?
А?
Послушай, чтобы стать настоящим врагом Путина и эффективно с ним бороться, нужно стать нашим спонсором и тем самым создать максимальные неудобства путинскому режиму. Оформив топовую подписку, будешь сниться Путину в ночных кошмарах.
Thank you, Alexei.
А теперь, что нужно сказать?
Путин, уходи.
Я не слышу.
How's life going? What's new there?
Уходи.
Громче.
Путин,
Громче.
уходи.
Вот тебе, получай, Путин. Уверен, он трусит от страха в своем бункере.
Volkov, by the way, I don't know if you know who this dude is. His Navalny team. His team Navalny, he is the man who has said that the reason why Russian invasion on Ukraine is happening right now is because in 2014, when Ukrainians did Euromaidan, they did not go into Russia to protest against Putin too. He basically had a whole little rant about how Ukrainians were selfish and Ukrainians only cared about Ukraine and they didn't give a shit about Russia, which was invaded by the Putin regime at the time. So because Ukrainians did not want to go into Russia to help Russians fight against the invasion of the Putin regime, now Ukrainians are suffering the invasion of the Putin regime to their lands. So, yeah. Heart attack. There's this type of propaganda popping out You never saw Harim? It's good. It's good. He's a piece of shit. There's this specific type of propaganda saying that Putin is going to die soon. And it pops out every once in a while. I fully believe in order to keep the West useless. Unironically, I fully believe it's existing to keep the West useless. I don't know if you've read, there was this great analysis by one Ukrainian journalist. And he made an analysis as to how the West is approaching this conflict and why the West isn't doing anything. And one of the ideas as to why the West has been so useless so long is that the West is trying to figure out if there's an easy way out of this. Like, they're trying to wait for something easy to happen, right? Yeah. Like, oh, maybe Putin dies, and then the war ends. So we don't have to do anything because Putin's gonna die and then the war is going to end, right? It's very similar to how they believed that Prigozhin's revolution thingy is going to do anything, right? It was like, oh yeah, guys, soon a revolution will start in Russia, and then Russians will overthrow the regime, and then the war will end, right? Like, we in the West, we don't have to actually work hard, we don't have to actually provide aid and provide weapons and provide shells. We don't have to do this, guys. Like, Putin's gonna die soon. Of course, Putin will not die anytime soon, but we still keep on waiting for it. We still keep on fucking waiting for it, and I fully believe that the whole thing with him getting a supposed heart attack, the thing with him having, what was it, prostate cancer? All of this, nothing is true. Nothing of this is true. Man's likely doing alright. He's an old man. He's as healthy as an old man can be, but there's no reason to believe he's going to be dying anytime soon. The reason why the story is being pushed onto us every once in a while is to keep you thinking that there's going to be an easy way out. And the Navalny team directly pushes for this, and so does Arestovich, with saying that once Putin dies, Russia is going to pull out because the rest of Russia is sane. No. Well, US media is like, oh, Putin is going nuclear soon. As much as possible, keep it up and people invest in the war. I do think USA is trying to avoid a conflict between two nuclear states. I do think Europe is failing strongly in this regard. I think Europeans are failing strongly, and I mean basically almost every single one of our states. I think we are failing. I can understand USA not wanting a war with Russia, and I can understand that, you know, someone made a comment that, like, if USA wanted Putin dead, USA would be able to already do it. I can see that. I'm pretty sure USA can see that man while he's taking his 20th daily shit. If USA wanted to wipe him out, they could wipe him out. I don't think USA wants to get as involved, which is why I think that Europeans are failing here. I don't think it's USA failing. USA is doing absolutely fine, considering the fact that they are geographically removed from Russia in the first place. USA is not fearing Russian invasion anytime soon. Hey, yo, soup! Then USA don't want a direct conflict with a nuclear power. Yeah, USA is going to keep their asses safe, and that makes quite a lot of sense. I think we are the problem here. Like, why do we have fucking stockpiles? Stockpiles prepared to fight Russia in case Russia invades. But stockpiles we are not sending to Ukraine right now, which is currently fighting a Russian invasion. We're waiting for the Russian invasion to become more expensive and closer to us. It's a stupid decision. We could have stopped this back in 2014 with basically no goddamn costs. And now it has reached this situation where it already is going to cost us a lot to go against Russia. And it's only going to get worse the longer we allow Russia to keep on building their defenses and to keep on spending on their military. And we're just allowing it? Come on. Escalation would be completely unpredictable. I do feel like a nuke is not going to happen, though. I do feel like a nuke is not going to happen. But also, yeah, I don't feel NATO is going to be touching Russia at any point. Europe is going to have to start pulling their weight real soon. Could see. Yeah, I don't think the danger has reached close enough for us to do it yet. That's kind of what worries me, to be honest. I feel we are still quite complicit with everything because we don't feel the heat coming to our asses. Thank you, Magnus. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No evidence to suggest Russia is moving further into EU. They impose sanctions. Even Sweden is trying to join NATO. Russia does see this as a war against the West itself. When it comes to them getting into European Union, I don't think they would be stupid enough to actually go and attack countries which can defend themselves. I definitely think Moldova is a danger. I definitely think Georgia is a danger. Absolutely. The Armenia-Azerbaijan situation is also going to be something to look out for. And then, of course, if you look at the eastern states, they already started with claiming there's a lot of Nazis. So there's going to be interesting moves there too. I do think, of course, depending on the situation in Ukraine, their next project might be something not directly bordering European states. But yeah, I do think they will go deeper into European Union. I do think they might try more with destabilizing European Union before actually doing an actual attack. Does that make sense? Like, think of Hungary right now, Slovakia right now, Serbia. Definitely Serbia. I'm absolutely seeing Dodik or Vucic creating problems before Russia goes into European Union. Definitely seeing an attack on Kosovo. Definitely seeing an attempt to balkanize Bosnia. Absolutely, like before Russia goes closer to us, that's going to happen. Also, fuck, I had another country and I don't know who it was. But yeah, Frenchies. Le Pen keeps on trying to get into leadership. She keeps on failing. She keeps on getting fucking closer. Le Pen is a force to fear. And we're talking about a woman who directly got funding from Russia. France wouldn't want to give her money for a presidential campaign, so she got the money from Russia. She herself admitted to this. If you look at the situation in Croatia, we got Domovinski Pokret, which is directly funded by Russians. They're not too popular, but they are directly funded by Russians. The fact we can have political parties in the first place getting funding from Russian organizations is laughable, but we do have this. There's absolutely going to be destabilization before any sort of actual attack is happening. US? Public has had enough of giving money and equipment. Likely Biden won't be re-elected. I do think, how to say this? I don't think most of USA society is stupid. So I have trust in their public when it comes to the way they understand giving money to Ukraine. I feel like, I don't know if it's misplaced trust, but I don't feel most of the population is dumb enough. I don't know. Can't do that in France. They'll go bananas. I mean, we're talking about Frenchies. They were okay with Le Pen previously getting funding from Russia. And the more she's ramping up the anti-immigration stance, the more likely she seems to be, getting closer to a position of power. I definitely think it's likely. Mainly because of Trump being a clown. Okay, yeah, that too. I don't feel like most of USA society either is stupid. I don't feel like most of any society is stupid. I do feel like the loud ones, though, of course, usually tend to be having more extreme positions. But I don't know. I have faith in USA choosing normally. I have faith in Americans. Ukraine needs to show that the US dollars are being put to good use. I feel we got two issues when it comes to that. First issue being the fact that USA is giving old scraps to Ukraine. And when we say old scraps, we're saying old scraps that are not really enabling Ukraine to have air superiority, for example. We're talking about scraps that, are not allowing Ukraine to strike into Russian territory. We're talking about USA intentionally making Ukraine fight with one hand behind its back. So, you're already minimizing the impact, even the scraps that you sent to Ukraine, you're already minimizing the impact they are allowed to have on the battlefield. But then the second problem, I think, is what means to be showing that USA aid is being put to good use. Because, and this is where, again, I have trust in USA people not being absolutely stupid, and I don't know how much this is displaced. But I think most of the population would be smart enough to understand that lines on a map are not the only show of progress. The fact that Black Sea Fleet, for example, has been completely pushed out of their waters, it's a huge thing. It's a huge, huge, huge thing. The fact that Ukraine managed to hit air defense systems in Crimea and then managed to hit the Black Sea Fleet headquarters, that's a huge thing, right? It's not something that you see as a line on a map, but it's a huge piece of progress. So, I don't know. I'm having hope in people not being too cartoonishly dumb when it comes to calculating the battlefield impact of their aid. Plus, not even to mention that we're talking about fighting Russia, which is a country that really doesn't have to spare the amount of people it's going to send to their deaths in Ukraine. Holding on against that itself is a success. Holding on against this itself is putting the aid into good use. Ukraine is holding on. The way Ukraine is being forced to fight, the equipment they have been given, it is already putting them intentionally in a disadvantaged position, and they are managing to hold on because of our aid. That is a success. We have not seen Russia take over Kyiv in 3 days when most of our analysts hoped that it would happen. That was a fucking success. Right? The holding on for this long, plus managing to liberate relatively huge chunks of the territory. Incredible, just incredible. They're the only ones that take pride in their stupidity. I don't really, how to say this, I'm not too up for discrimination against USA people themselves. I do think most of them are normal. But yeah, wouldn't be too surprised by them having, quite extreme takes sometimes. I think US will be willing to take the risk with the good stuff. If military planners thought that giving them state-of-the-art equipment guaranteed Ukraine win, then they would be less cautious. I don't think there's a reason to think it would not guarantee a win. I think the problem is that USA doesn't want to get too involved. There is a real damage to USA interventionism that was done by, quite a lot of their interventions creating shit situations, right? I think USA is dealing right now with basically unwillingness to actually intervene in global conflict, which does not affect them directly because of mistakes made in some situations previously where they intervened and it has proven to be a horrible decision. So what happens is that they're looking at the time where they actually could intervene and they actually could help, and they are being too cautious with it. They're being way too cautious, they're being way too slow, they're being way too bureaucratic over this. I absolutely believe that their aid, state-of-the-art tech, it could overturn this war immediately. I believe they're not really willing to go balls deep into this. we're talking about a situation in which not only is USA going to be getting closer to an actual war between, USA and Russia, obviously, and you don't really want to do that. But another problem is the fact that if Russia loses, you're looking at likely Balkanization of the state. You're looking at likely Balkanization of the state. You're looking at likelihood of republics getting broken up. You're looking at the likelihood of a bunch of refugees being created. I don't think USA wants to really touch into any of that too much. Conquer 4/5 of the planet and just have some baseline on totalitarian government in every single country. I don't even think they need to conquer half of the planet, though. I think that when you look at NATO, the reason why NATO is working the way it's working is because NATO is a good deterrent, right? I feel if USA had the balls to actually be protecting NATO allies, which they had a chance to do when it comes to Ukraine, right? They had a chance to help Ukraine immediately. They failed at doing this. But if USA chose to help Ukraine immediately, their power in the region would have been cemented. And I feel like if you're looking at a situation where like most of the world is basically forced, let's say, to follow the rules of international war, I feel that could have been rather successful if in 2014 we weren't fucking pussies, all of us. Oh no, thank you so much, Magnus. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good health and to have fatter pockets. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Because fuck them across the pond? Yeah. Because, not really fuck them across the pond. More like whenever we went across the pond, it hasn't turned out to be too smart. So I'm not sure if going across the pond now is going to be another one of those things that seems smart when you're doing this, but then 10 years down the line it's going to show to be a mistake. Oh, what was this? Hey, yo! Autumn Queen, thank you, thank you, thank you! You have chat rules? Did you not have no politics on? I think no. I'm pretty sure. Polling? What are we talking about? Polling? Recent polling. US public generally wants to ramp down spending. US public would prefer to help Israel. I feel USA public is chaotic on that quite a lot. Don't know how much, how many of their opinions I keep on, getting properly, but I feel most USA people are kind of just all over the place when it comes to Israel-Palestine. It would be interesting to me to see them actually support lessening aid to Ukraine so they could fund Israel more. I feel that sort of unity in USA would be unexpected. They were told stuff like the fact Ukraine has already retaken half the land it lost since 2022, and their opinions changed enough that most started supporting more aid. Oh, it's like that one saying that USA, with a tiny little part of its GDP, managed to destroy a big chunk of Russian military, like half of Russian military power, right? That was based. Most of US does. Ukraine hasn't liberated much. Yeah, of course. It is quite hard to break through the Russian-held areas when they have had enough time to create defense lines and to mine everything, which is, something that we might have been doing a bit more efficiently in a situation of getting proper military aid instead of scraps. But okay. But fine. No. Oh, Americans strongly support Israel. There are generational and racial divides. 2/3 say United States should publicly support Israel in the war between Israel and Hamas. That makes sense. Still think it's money. I mean, from USA perspective, it could be. From USA perspective of like why they are getting involved. I don't know. Even then, I don't really feel that they are earning more now than they would be earning if they just went balls in and supported Ukraine properly. I don't think it's about the money only, because we are already seeing more countries requesting military equipment from USA, even though we're seeing the military equipment being because they're sending scraps. If they sent proper military equipment, we could have smoked every single Russian soldier in like a month. Know how many sales they would be making then? Not how many sales they would be making if they actually prove themselves to be the gods of military equipment. And they're not really doing it. I don't really think they're doing it.
Because I might be wrong, and I'm clearly biased in the situation, obviously. But yes, before I even talk about it, right, and before I get to my points, first of all, I understand that this conflict right now is a very, very emotional issue for a lot of people. The amount of increase in Islamophobia and anti-Semitism in the world recently has been absolutely insane. And I firmly stand against both, and I would like to make an effort so that nothing I say in this video would be pushing any of those hateful agendas. And to be quite honest, I still cannot fully find myself in either that or that camp, because first of all, I've been to Israel 3 times, I visited friends there, and I actually had a lot of fun. And on the one hand, I have a lot of empathy for the Jewish people and the terrible stuff that they've gone through, but also at the same time, I'm sorry, but I can't really look past what Israel is doing. And through my sort of anti-imperialistic, anti-colonial look on the world, Israel, you know, does give me the ick a little bit. And also I have a lot of empathy for the plight of the Palestinian people. And all the displacements that they've had to go through in the past decades. And I have to say this as well, because people will jump to this in making their arguments, but no, I do not think Hamas are freedom fighters, and I do condemn their attack on Israel. It was absolutely awful. That being said though, once again, I do think that retaliating by, you know, just bombing thousands of children in Gaza Strip isn't really, you know, the way.
Why the fuck am I getting random J-pop?
Way to go. And I know people are gonna say, what about the hostages? What about this? Look, I don't fucking know. It's an open
yes, it was an ad.
Dense population in the world. I don't fucking know what to do. I'm just thinking maybe, just maybe, there is another way to handle this. And here's the thing, this is just not me speaking. A lot of the world community right now is looking very thoroughly at what Israel is doing, and they're not very happy with it. And even the UN is raising concerns about how Israel is conducting its operation in Gaza. To which Israel, by the way, responds with saying that the UN chief is an idiot and should be fired. Sounds a lot like Russian behavior, by the way, guys. And now that I've, you know, ostracized, you know, half of my audience or whatever, here's basically the post that I made. I posted this on Instagram saying, at the end of the day, I do have a very damn simple question. Since the UN is super concerned about Israel's special military operation in Gaza, yeah guys, I just had to do that little joke there, hadn't I? A little out of touch, but I was just fucking mad when I was typing this, I'm sorry. Since the UN is super concerned about Israel's special military operation in Gaza while Israel ignores any objections of the world community, why can Israelis still use Visa and MasterCard? Why is Zara, McDonald's...
It's not even, I don't have a solution, but what bad? It's, I don't have a solution, but why is Israel not being treated the way Russia is being treated? Which is, like, you know, why can Israelis use Visa and MasterCard and Russians can't? Why can a country with a history of imperialist expansionism, attempted genocide, and ethnic cleansing campaigns of literally everyone around them, why can they be banned from using Visa and MasterCard, and why is McDonald's leaving their country, and why are they not allowed to be traveling around, and another time they start a genocidal fucking war against a neighbor? But this other side, which was a victim of a terrorist attack and is now responding to a terrorist attack in absolutely inexcusable ways, right? But still, to pretend like what Israel is doing is in any way comparable to what Russia is doing is just ridiculous. Hey, yo, Elon, how's life? Going back to his Russian brain, yeah. I saw this coming. I wanted to give credit to myself last time we watched his video. What did I tell you? What did I tell you? I said, hey guys, No Fuckers is eating some poop. Because No Fuckers did a whole video on his opinion on Russia, and not once did he mention the fact that they are currently attempting to genocide Ukrainians. What did I get in chat? No, he was actually good. He was actually okay. The video wasn't even that bad, Vicky. That was the start of his brain rotting process. That was the start of his brain rotting process. Okay, man is completely gone. He's going to join Team Navalny anytime soon. Can't wait for him to, collect a huge amount of cash money, so then he could shine a hashtag Free Navalny on some random ass building in Georgia, because that is absolutely going to happen. Pro or anti-Israel? I think Israel had the right to defend itself against Hamas terrorist attack. I do not think their response is adequate. I do not think their bombing of civilian grounds is excusable. I do think they're using the excuse of plausible deniability when it comes to this. Basically, oh yeah guys, they shelled the refugee center recently. Yeah, guys, we did chunk a bomb at the refugee center, but there was definitely a Hamas person inside. I don't think we should be supporting Israel unconditionally. Absolutely not. But yeah. Oh, woe is me. The West is oppressing me with sanctions while Israel gets away with this. Soy boy. Or Russia deserved it, and so does Israel. I think his idea is that Israel didn't get what it deserves. I'm guessing that's what he's trying to say. But like again, you can't. I don't think you can say why Israel is allowed to do everything Russia can't, because Israel is not doing everything Russia can't. He's trying to minimize it to like who is bombing civilians, which again, like I don't think it's in any way comparable. I don't think you can compare the two situations. Not even to mention that this is a thing that I've seen people do when the Israeli attacks on Gaza first started, which is trying to figure out, like, Israel and Palestine, trying to figure out which one of them would be Russia or Ukraine. I don't think it's smart. I don't think it's good to be doing these types of comparisons, specifically in this situation when he tries to compare Israel bombing Palestine to Russia bombing Ukraine. There's an implication made that Israel's actions are as justified as Russia's actions are. Israel was a victim of a terrorist attack. By doing this comparison, he is immediately creating a scenario where Ukraine did a terrorist attack on Russian grounds. It never did it. It never did it. Ukraine never did what Hamas did. Ukrainian government never did what Hamas did. To make this comparison from the start, you are being dishonest and you are either trying to spread around Russian propaganda or you are unknowingly spreading Russian propaganda. But Ukrainian government never did what Palestinian government did by staging a terrorist attack into Israel. So, yeah. Israel bombing Gaza with Serbia bombing Kosovo. I have seen... to be fair, I talked about Croatians with this, so the opinions were interesting. I saw someone comparing Israel bombing Gaza to Serbia bombing Vukovar, which, again, I was very pissed off at this. I still am pissed off at the comparison. Croatian government never sent a terrorist attack into Serbia to wipe out a bunch of Serbian civilians and then pulled back the mentioned terrorists and hid them behind Croatian civilians in Vukovar. It just wasn't a thing. To create this comparison in the first place, you're making up a scenario that never happened. You're putting the blame on a side that doesn't have a reason to carry this blame. So yeah. it's war and they're wiping out the enemy, and war always has casualties. I do think avoiding civilian casualties as much as possible should be demanded. I do think as many civilians should be saved and allowed to evacuate. Global sanctions. I don't... My thing with global sanctions on Israel, though, is that I'm not sure how long Israel would be able to continue existing as a state if we were to sanction it. It's like, I've seen some Americans recently commenting on this. There's this idea of Biden supporting Israel unconditionally, which absolutely isn't true. Biden does not support Israel unconditionally. But there has been this interesting conversation I've seen in USA spaces over how Israel should stop getting military aid from USA. I'm not really sure people are aware that if we pull back all aid to Israel, Hamas are going to keep attacking. Not just Hamas. Like, we're talking about Israel, a state that got attacked immediately after proclaiming their independence. Immediately after they become a state, they got attacked by a coalition of countries. To pull out funding from them would likely be condemning Israel to stop existing. I'm not really sure I would be supportive of that. But also, yeah, I do think we must demand better from them, and I think we must demand better protection of civilians from them, definitely. I don't think, oh, there was Hamas in this hospital is an acceptable excuse. How do Palestinians get integrated into Israeli society? Is Israel willing to allocate land and resources to the West Bank to secure an actual peaceful future? The thing is, when you look at both Israel and Palestine, both of them say that they support two-state solution. Both of their governments seem way more extreme than that. I think that the supporting two-state solution recently has been shown to be rather, how would I say this? It's a thing they say, but they don't actually believe in, right? It's something that they claim, but they don't actually hold this position. I think governments of both are currently quite extreme. I don't think either would be prepared to accept a two-state solution and, you know, see a lasting peace. White House asked for foreign military funding that will have no congressional... What? No congressional oversight for the first time? Just for Israel? Bastards. Why neighboring Muslim countries are not accepting refugees? There's a few reasons. As far as I remember, one of them was that accepting Palestinian refugees is likely just going to allow Israel to occupy the land fast and to create just the land of Israel in the area. Which is not really something that surrounding states seem to be too happy about. Now, I do think it's interesting that they're also moving away from the violence of Hamas, though. I have seen Egyptians recently. I don't know if how many people you follow in these circles, because, my dudes, listen, I'm like big on European affairs. I'm not really big on the rest of the world. I'm really bad at names. I could try to find you the video. Of an Egyptian dude specifically talking about why Egyptians are very unlikely to be voting to allow Gaza refugees into their country, and it's because last time they allowed them in the country, some Hamas people went with them and did a little bit of terrorism. So I can understand their caution. I just think it's an interesting thing to observe from this situation. I don't know. It's a horrible thing, and there's no solution. And then we just pretend to be, having to fight over what the solution should be. When I genuinely believe that the two-state solution is the only one that can actually happen. I don't know Why are we supposed to be having these debates even of like, oh yeah, should it all be Palestine? Should it all be Israel? None of those is going to work. None of those is going to work. It has to be two-state, and we have to at least try to get Western peacekeepers there to keep it going. I genuinely don't think anything else could be created. People in Gaza don't want to leave because they expect they will never be able to return to their houses. Yeah, which is also very likely. It's a very, very likely possibility that Israel is just going to, you know, put their people in these lands and that's it. Israel had settlements. Yeah, they pulled out the settlements in 2005. Is that correct? There's a good probability Israel will resettle in greater numbers than before. After they're done with the campaign? It must have been impossible to negotiate with a terrorist organization elected by Palestine. Oh yeah, definitely. Israeli government thrives off terror and relies on fear to continue its expansionist agenda. Definitely, Israeli government right now, I don't even believe they could. I don't realistically believe they could go for a de-escalation without losing a large part of public support, because public currently wants blood. I think Israeli public currently is not really in the most peace-loving state of mind, let's say it like that. When Palestinians voted for Hamas to control the government, it was a fair and valid election. I've seen different analysis of that, but I do think it could have been acceptable. But like, you know, the fact that it happened in 2000, was it 2007? The fact it happened in 2007 and they never had elections again, I feel it shows exactly how democratic Hamas are able to be. Losing your land, livelihood and family can bring people to some radical conclusions. Yeah, that is also true. That is also true. All the Israeli settlements, Israel wants to recreate the situation in Gaza so that the two-state solution will die forever. So you think it's all going to be Israel at the end? And I feel... Man, I feel it should be possible, but yeah, I'm not quite sure how integrated. What's the possibility of drawing the borders without making Israelis in the areas of the West Bank absolutely pissed off? Oh, I would have to check if it's a war crime. Civilian settlements in conquered areas. I would have to check. I'm not entirely sure on the definition of that. I guess it would be... I would see it as a part of ethnic cleansing campaign, I would guess, because I am assuming that, you know, you conquer these areas, you displace people who used to be living here, and then you import your own people. That's ethnic cleansing. So I guess in that way, yeah. Oh, current government aims to have only Israel. That is definitely true. Current government, absolutely. I don't think it's valid to say that Netanyahu would support a two-state solution at the current point. I don't want to help people who don't want to be helped. I do think though both sides have a reason to be fighting right now, and both sides have a reason to be asking for help. Like I don't think either of them is in a situation they are in because they're somehow genuinely evil, basically. Imagine if IRA was fighting for the last bit of Ireland. Just saying people go mad when they are on the last leg as people. Yeah, I could see that. A lot of the left calls for a one-state solution, which makes no sense because they think it's more pro-Palestine. Yeah, it's I think a lot of the left has no idea the fuck is going on. I think a lot of the left has no idea what's happening at all. I genuinely, I still think most online positions on this conflict are positions created after the, I don't remember year, but I think it was 2016. I don't know if you guys remember the great Twitter campaign of forcing celebrities to write hashtags in support of Palestine and bullshit like that. It was like a big thing online. I remember people bullying Selena Gomez for not posting about it. She like didn't make a single Instagram. She posted a few Instagram stories at a time. None of them were about Palestine, and then people were bullying her because she was refusing to use her platform for good, stuff like that. I genuinely believe a lot of online opinions about this are opinions that were formed back in 2016 and just never researched further. So I think a lot of the people just like went blindly into this, and in their mind the only thing they had was the infographics posted by celebrities in 2016 with Free Palestine hashtags. So currently they're having to like reevaluate the situation a little bit more, and it's creating problems. It's creating problems. Hey, thank you. Israel's going to be a one-state solution with Palestinians being a heavily persecuted minority. It is a possibility. I do think it would be a horrible situation, and I do think we would not be able to stop Israel from quite strongly discriminating against Palestinians. But yeah, I can agree that that is a real possibility. That is a real situation we might be looking at. It's what they have already. Wait, but like all of it is not Israel already. All of it is not Israel already. If you mean that they already do strongly discriminate against non-Jews, I could see that. I could see that. I don't think they already have everything as Israel. I think it's going to create a lot fresh problems if that situation were to happen. If they had gone to a concert, killed 200 teens, then gone on to kill babies, other horrific acts, what do you think England would have done? Yeah. All of it is effectively Israel. I could say they have strong influence in both, in the West Bank. Not sure about their influence in Gaza. Not sure how successful they were in taking that. I mean, but like I assume the lines have moved quite a lot in the last few days. But yeah, I do think that it actually officially becoming Israel is going to create a plethora of new problems. A lot of Israelis think that they're doing what needs to be done in Gaza, and the only problem is that it's not explained right to the world. Yeah, I do think there's big problem with internet being very stupid on this conversation, because in that situation, for example, I think I have seen interesting takes coming from the pro-Israeli camp, takes that I would be only able to explain as Islamophobia to the full, just absolutely to the full. It's interesting that I think in Europe we have had strong conversations about anti-Semitism appearing as a result of this, and these are conversations that need to be done, and we must condemn anti-Semitism, absolutely. I do think it's interesting that we're seeing some people though bounce and just go full into Islamophobia over it, and no one's really, pointing that out enough as a problem. Like the whole thing of doing what needs to be done. I've seen people legit say that, these children in Gaza are going to grow up into extremists later anyways. So like it's not surprising if Israel is bombing them too, because, they were raised in this society. So they're going to turn out to be terrorists in the future too, shit like that, which is a horrible opinion to have and a horrible opinion to say out loud. But I think we are kind of ignoring it because we are on the lookout for the danger of anti-Semitism, so we have kind of allowed bits of Islamophobia to have a pass, and now it's grown normalized in some parts. Like nuke Gaza and they have a graphic for how Israel will rebuild it. Oh shit. Oh my man. Like the US would bother with Israel if Russia didn't exist. I do think USA would benefit from having a strong ally in the area. I do think USA, regardless of Russia's existence, USA would be benefiting, to be honest. Huge Islamophobia. My mother hates Arabs. She's a physician? And she's practically living next to an Arab town. Oh shit. Oh shit, my man. Oh damn. That's... whoa. A physician. That's like surprising. You always think people falling for this are not physicians. Just like random ass people with no jobs. Man. I would prefer we go and blow up the governments. I do think there's another problem with that. Look, governments exist because they're supported by people, right? Governments are here because they're supported by the people. I mostly see it as... Roman was just bitching about this. I wanted to comment on him bitching about this. I think it's not true that Russian responsibility for their own government is treated differently than Israeli responsibility for their own government, which I don't also think it's treated differently than Palestinian responsibility for their own government, in part including Hamas, right? I think in all cases people are asking questions of like, hey, where are the protests? Like, you know, you have extremists there. Where are your protests? Where are your protests? Why aren't you doing anything? Why have you not been doing anything before? It's kind of stupid to expect Palestinians now to protest against Hamas. But like, they were there for a while. They had to build everything that they have using civilians. Are we pretending like there was no complicity? Come on. The problem is kind of that if you try to bomb the government, you may be creating a problem of the population still being very radicalized and seeing mentioned government members as martyrs. Think of Serbia. Think of Serbia. There has to be a whole process of de-radicalization of the population. Think of Serbia. What did Serbia do in early 2000s? Serbia got rid of Milosevic. Serbia had the bulldozer revolution. Serbia, helped by Otpor, by the way, which was an amazing organization and got a lot of foreign help, they managed to overthrow Milosevic. What happened though? Because Otpor was so strongly supported by outsiders, and I think Otpor was based, absolutely. But because they were so strongly supported by outsiders, I think we're blind to the fact that Serbian society is not prepared, is not de-radicalized enough to fight against what Milosevic was representing. So what happened is they got rid of Milosevic and they went into the same shit now with choosing Vucic as their president. Vucic who was directly working under Milosevic. Right? They are back in the same shit because the population didn't change. You can take the government out, but if the population still supports the same types of people, it's just going to be the same shit. It's like right now, if you go and you explode Putin on the spot, not even just Putin, take out Putin, take out Shoigu, take out the Kremlin itself, right? Russians are going to be choosing the same exact types of people because Russians support this type of leadership. You cannot solve the situation before you de-radicalize the population. Hamas wasn't as extreme as they are now. Oh yeah, Hamas was... Who posted on this? There's a Twitch streamer, she's really into history. She's really into history. She is Israeli. She was doing good research on Hamas recently. Can't remember her name, but I was planning to look up her VODs maybe this weekend to look into her research. But she looked into Hamas previously, or not even just in 2006, but previously to 2006. For a while, they fully supported the idea of like a two-state solution. They were the peaceful option. Very similarly to how Putin for a while was the democratic option. At one point, there's this one interview of Putin existing where they ask him if he is planning to change the constitution of Russia to allow him to remain the president for more terms, and he got personally offended. He's given an answer to this interview and he's like, no, I'm offended you're even asking me this. Of course I would never change the Russian constitution to make Russia less democratic. I would never do this. And then what does he do? Exactly that. So kill them all? No. I have never said they should all be killed. I have never supported that. I am saying that you can't expect changes unless the radicalization of population happens. I'm not suggesting you should kill off the entire population, nor do I think that would be a good choice in any sort of a way. I'm saying that a big change will not happen by the ideas you're planning. Like, we need something else. Or at least you need to be aware that the idea of bombing these two governments so we don't see a war is not going to be sufficient. It's not going to be good enough to not see a war happen. You just gotta be aware of how extremely hard these things are to solve. Posted by an emergency ER tech at a hospital showing his Hamas tattoo in Norway. He got fired. Oh, I could see that. She can also coexist. She took my dad to an Arab doctor during a weekend. She's still talking about the great service they got, but you can talk to her a day later and she'll tell you how all Arabs should be gone. Oh shit. Oh yeah, it's like I can see that in people here and the way they talk about Serbs. Very similar to that. Like we are constantly, you know, we coexist, of course we do. But you will very often hear people like have these ideas that Serbs have war in their blood. Serbs have bloodshed in their blood, like they're just willing to start a war and invasion and attempting genocides because it is something they are naturally prone to doing. And then the same people will have like family and friends in Serbia that they will go to visit and hang out with regularly. It's like they have an idea of what Serbs are as a group, but when they interact with individual Serbs, they don't hold the same stereotype to them. It's a very fucking weird thing. Why is it that there are so many more Islamic terrorists than Christian terrorists? I feel the nature of terrorism in question, the nature of why terrorism happens, is of importance here. So, for example, if you look at the states of Europe, Christians are already in power here. What do they need to be terrorists about? They already, depending on which European state you're in, right? But most often Christian church gets a cut of the taxes. They like automatically get cash money from our paychecks, depending again which country you are in, because I know the laws are different. But like Christians are in quite a good position in Europe. They wouldn't need to do any sort of terrorism. They don't need to do that shit. They do call for Christianity spreading around the world. But again, they are in a position of power. They don't need to do terrorist attacks here. They have no reason to do that shit. When it comes to Muslims, the situation is a bit different, especially like when you look at European states in which terrorism has been happening regularly. When you look at the, let's say, historical grievances as to how this terrorism could have been explained, the ways that this country has been dealing with Muslims previously, I think that when you look at the context of the situation, you can kind of understand, you know, why I don't really see lots of Christians blowing shit up in these countries, but you might see Muslim attacks happening in the country. I think it's kind of understandable. Ukrainian soldiers pay taxes from the salary, but church pays zero. Yeah, we got that too. Church pays no taxes, plus every single member of the clergy has the average Croatian pension given to them after they go to pension. Did you know nuns go to pension? Nuns go to pension. They get average pension. So not like the minimum one that most of our pensioners get. No. They get the average. The average is fucking high. You could work as a nun, and then with the pension you're getting, you could be basically supplying your entire fucking family for the rest of your life. And you get it from taxes. You get it given by the church. By the church, because the church is paid taxes by the state of Croatia. Yeah, nuns go to pension, yeah. Oh, there's an error. Christian Democratic Movement. Oh, wait, let me save this. I have to look it up. Wait, thank you. I'm gonna send the message to myself. Let me try to find my chat with me. Thank you. What made you think nuns are in it for the money? I don't care what nuns are in it for. They're getting pensions from state. We pay taxes so they could get pension. Average pension, which is more than most of us will get. Like, I probably will not be getting the average pension. There must be some people greatly inflating pensions. Yeah, there are, definitely. It's a big problem here in Croatia. I assume in most European states. I assume it's not really a different thing in most of the world, to be honest. But yeah, definitely we have people who are directly working in state-sponsored institutions who are having huge paychecks and as a result getting huge pensions, and they do inflate the average amount, which is the one that church people are getting. I mind when Hamas or Hezbollah does Black Panther-like actions, protecting Palestinians, feeding them, getting them water. They were fucked for October 7th. Yeah, I do feel like if Hamas went into Israel in October and specifically attacked soldiers, specifically attacked Israeli military outposts, man, this would be a very different situation. This would be a very, very, very different situation. Churches are not enough. Not enough. What churches give are crumbs. What churches give, especially most churches, it's crumbs. They keep most of it. It's like the amount of their helping is ridiculous when you compare it to the amount of money they get as an institution. It's, you know how I see it? I see it as... to put it into Twitch terms, to put this into twitch.tv terms, okay? You know how Hassan has gathered, like, what was it, $275,000 to help Ukrainian refugees? And then at the same time, he keeps on spreading around Russian propaganda and calling against the aid to Ukraine and calling especially against military aid to Ukraine in any kind. That's how I see it. It's like you are already sitting on a pile of cash. You give a chunk of this cash to a good cause, and then we're supposed to overlook all the damage that comes with your existence. Because the church, and I'm not even talking about like the religion itself being harmful, I'm talking about church itself and the harm it is creating. We had priests literally calling to stop allowing refugees, actual refugees, into Europe. We had priests calling to stop funding Ukraine and to stop helping Ukraine because they just want peace in the world. We had the Pope himself putting a Ukrainian and a Russian child on the same podium, pretending like their suffering in this war is equal. We had the bishops writing a letter to Pope complaining about the fact that he is now allowing girls to be working in those positions in the church, like altar boy situations, right? Come on. Church itself is extremely harmful as an organization. The fact that they take a little, you know, part of cash that they're sitting on and they give it to the homeless does not come close to fixing all the damage they're causing. Hassan is running a cult. I don't know what the man is doing, my dude. I don't know what the man is doing. I am quite disheartened by the fact he has the audience that he has, though. So yeah, you know. Secularize? I don't really think secularization of Sweden would... I'm not sure how it's connected to the fact that churches helping some homeless people are not doing enough. Because they could afford a lot more. They could afford a lot more. They are not affording a lot more. And we haven't even gotten into the situation, into the conversation of the monetary gains by priests themselves. When have you last seen a priest driving a normal ass fucking car? Every single priest we ever had in this village had some sort of a newest goddamn model. We had one of them who was collecting motorcycles. Collecting fucking motorcycles. Now how much cash money that is? The priest we have right now, he has 4 different houses in the village. 4 different houses. He's planning to buy at least 3 more to be able to rent them out to foreign workers. Like, let's not be delusional in this situation. And we're talking about a man who is already getting a state-sponsored paycheck from our taxes. Right? The fact that every once in a while he's able to take a little chunk of money and then give it to the homeless changes nothing. It changes absolutely nothing. How would you be without a god? I don't think... You mean like mentally, how would I feel if there was no god? Or you mean like how would we exist without a god? I'm fully atheistic on this question. Like, normal body shape priest in Croatia, we had, our old one was a normal body shape one. He was a military priest for a while. So I'm guessing that had something to do with it. He was great. The military priest we had was the best one. He was here for a few years before his pension. So he was a military priest, and then he worked here for a while until he was old enough of a pension, right? I thought he was great. He was really, really good. He didn't fall into bullshit I say bullshit culture war thingy. Like the one we have right now, he's bitching about Halloween every once in a while, stuff like that. The military one never did that. I think that, you know, maybe actually working with Croatian defenders during the war and then keeping on working with them after the war has ended, I think it creates a situation where you realize how stupid bitching about these irrelevant issues is. Knowing you have holy men manipulating the system. I mean, I'm GG with anyone manipulating the system in a way. I'm against seeing the organization as defendable. Like, I'm Balkan, you know, I'm Balkan. There's corruption in every part of society, and I'm quite complicit with corruption in most society. Like, we got corruption in the government, I know about it. We all know about it. We have several good researchers on corruption within the government. The reason we are still picking the same government is because we are complicit about it, right? It's like the best one we can have. We don't really care too much about it. In the same way, I know the church is really, really corrupt. I know of local cases of corruption specifically with individuals engaged in it. Am I going to report any of that shit? No. You're gaming the system. Okay. What I'm against are these little games where we are supposed to pretend as if church somehow is not a burden on society. They pretty much are. In the same way, a corrupt government is a burden on society. It may be a burden you're complicit with holding, but it still is a burden. That's the kind of shit that happens when you base your country on religious lines. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Just, you know, it's impossible to fix. It should be 100% separate from the state. Let them have funding only from their community. They would crumble immediately. They would crumble immediately. Most religious people are religious because they are just like floating along. Like there's really, really good statistics on the amount of religious people in Croatia. because we have, I think it's like 86% of our people are Catholics, right? You know what happens when these same people who are Catholics go to Germany? You know what happens when they go to Germany immediately? They go out of the church. Why do they go out of the church? Because they don't want to pay taxes in Germany. In Germany, it's actually a choice. You can choose whether you want to be paying taxes to the church or not. You can choose to not be a part of the church, and if you don't want to be a part of the church, you just don't pay taxes to the church. So what happens is they just get out of the church immediately. They don't give a shit about the church. They don't give a shit about belonging to this in the first place. Lots of people are, you know, part of the church just because they're floating around, and that's it. I'm from Croatia. You only watch No Fuckers if you think he says something controversial. I watch No Fuckers because I despise the man. I watch No Fuckers because I despise the man, and I think it's healthy to every once in a while remind yourself that there are no good Russians. That's the reason we are currently watching him too. I think this video of his is incredibly stupid. Last video of his I watched was the one on his opinions on Russia currently, which I also thought was incredibly stupid. It's not about him saying something controversial, it's about me genuinely disliking the man. Corrupt church? Oh, no. Just taking money from the system. It's like how here, for example, we have a tiny little church. I just, like, it's good you don't know where I am. That's GG. We have a tiny little church here. They have spent thousands of euros into rebuilding this church, supposedly. Their building was not worth thousands of euros. Okay, it wasn't. They didn't even like rebuild the entirety of it. They rebuilt a part of it. Where did most of this money go? Who the fuck knows? And we're talking about them getting lots of this funding from the... Fuck, I don't know English for this. You know how you have like local church, and then local churches are a part of a bigger church group, and then these bigger church groups belong to the state church, right? Yeah, they get tax money. They got tax money for this. My dudes, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Why do you dislike him? I believe No Fuckers is fully complicit with the current situation Russia is in. I believe No Fuckers is not using his platform to properly call out Russian imperialism. I believe he pretends Russians are not imperialist, which makes me even like feel worse about him. I believe he is intentionally playing the role of a supposed good Russian because he wants the West to believe that such a man exists. He did a whole video recently on his opinions on Russia in which not a word was said about Russian invasion in Ukraine. Not a single word. He keeps on doing the Navalny thing, which is why I despise Navalny team too, in which they pretend as if Putin is the only person in Russia who is supporting this war. Putin is the only person in Russia who is supporting this invasion. Everyone else is normal. Everyone else in the population is absolutely normal and sane. It's just Putin. It's ridiculous. No, people in Balkans don't believe their country should divide indefinitely. Infinitely? No, that is not true. I don't know where you're getting that idea. No. Like we have internationally recognized borders, we're GG with our... Bosnia wants to divide? Bosnia doesn't want to divide. You're talking about Dodik pushing to separate Republika Srpska from the rest of Bosnia. Kosovo did break from Serbia already. Kosovo is a state of its own. Yeah, it's because Yugoslavia crumbled, so all the nations of Yugoslavia got a chance to demand their own state to represent them, and that's what they're getting. That is not what dividing infinitely means. When you look at Slovenia, for example, Slovenia is standing strong. Croatia is standing strong. No, Serbia is not an ally of Russia. Serbia is not an ally of anything. Wait, where was I on this? I don't even know where I was in the messages, to be honest. Very, very, very few good Russians. Simply saying I don't support the government doesn't make you good if you don't act on it. Yeah. Most of them are complicit. Most of them are complicit, and that's it. The idea of pretending there is a wider population in Russian society, you know, standing against the war and standing against the government is laughable, and I think that is exactly what Roman is attempting to do. No, Balkans' brains are not manipulated to think they should break even more. That's bullshit. Serbia is no one's ally. Serbia is no one's ally. Serbia is attempting to sit on both sides while attempting to get into European Union, to get European Union taxes, but also attempting to play along with Russia because they are aware that by playing along they will be able to push back against European Union attempts to have to recognize Kosovo as a sovereign state of its own. But like, Serbia is not an ally of Russia. That simply is not true. When you start earning money, you will start paying some percentage of your salary to the church. Oh, same here. Same here, same here. Serbian President Vučić? Yeah, because Serbia is trying to play the both sides. I don't know if you just like missed the entirety of my explanation. I told you already. Serbia is trying to play both sides because Serbia wants to get into European Union to get European Union funding because they need European Union funding because Serbia currently is in a state of being a shithole. At the same time, European Union demands Serbia normalize the relationship between Serbia and Kosovo, which is not something Serbia wants to do, especially not something that Vučić's nationalist voters want to do, and he wants to keep nationalist voters on his side. So he is trying to push away from European Union and thus from demands to recognize Kosovo as a sovereign state by going in the other direction and pretending to be GG with Russia. But like, it's not true that Serbia is an ally of Russia. You can look at their UN voting very easily. It is not true they are an ally of Russia. How can Serbia like European Union if European Union recognizes Kosovo? Why wouldn't they? European Union is a benefit to basically every single state that entered it. Croatian economy has flourished after we entered the European Union. Entering an organization like that is absolutely a benefit, and Serbia knows this. Serbia wants to join. The thing is that most of Serbs do not want to accept Kosovo as a state of its own. They want to be getting the funds, but they don't want to be, you know, taking the responsibility that comes with being a part of this organization. No, Montenegro is a sovereign state of its own. What do you mean European Union recognizes Montenegro? Montenegro is a sovereign state of its own. Eyo, Rocket! Like saying Ukraine should be friendly with Russia even though they take the territories and support independent movements? No. That is nothing similar to that. The fuck are you saying? European Union never invaded Serbia to annex their lands. That's bullshit. That is just absolutely bullshit. No, you can't compare Russian invasion and attempt of genocide of Ukrainians with European Union, supporting Kosovo? That is laughable. Kosovo wanted to separate from Serbia for decades. Kosovo, during the times of Yugoslavia, Kosovo was demanding to have more power on its own, apart from Serbia. This is bullshit. These comparisons, like, I swear to God, at this point, whenever I see one of you people in chat doing these comparisons where you have to compare one country to another country, I'm just gonna treat you as if you're an actual imbecile. I have never seen one of you do a proper comparison. It's always ridiculous stuff like this. European Union never stole ground from Serbia. European Union never went in and annexed lands from Serbia. It's not a thing. It is not a thing. You're speaking mad shit. when Romania joins the European Union was allowed by all political parties. And some of those people were Russia approvers, yeah, because they understood the money was there. It's like with Hungary, I guess, right? Even though Orban is regularly threatening that, you know, Hungary is going to leave European Union, it's never going to leave. They know they're getting more cash money from European Union than they would be ever able to get from anyone else. They know there's a benefit in being a part of the alliance. If European Union supports a country constantly breaking, they don't. Why do you keep on doing the constantly breaking apart forever? Montenegro was already a republic that was separate from Serbia. It was literally called Serbia and Montenegro because these were two republics of former Yugoslavia that were mushed into their own state. It's not like European Union made this up. Montenegro had a strong case to demand independence from Serbia in the very much same way Kosovo had it too. You're pretending as if European Union went in and drew these borders when these borders were existing for decades previously. They were literally existing in Yugoslavia itself. The leadership of Serbia, which was controlling most of Yugoslavia, was allowing these regions to have their own government. Like this is just bullshit. You're talking bullshit.
Etc., not epically showing Israelis their stance for peace or whatever by leaving. And is it hard for Israelis to travel? Oh yeah, never mind, they just got visa-free travel to the America, lol. So you can clearly tell I was pissed when I was typing this, but here's the thing, I know already what a bunch of people are going to say. People will say to me that it is wrong to compare Russia and Ukraine and Israel and Gaza. And I actually agree, and guess what guys, I'm not. Because if anything, we could compare the situation more to Russia versus Chechnya in the First and Second Chechen War. There have been several very massive terrorist attacks in Russia in the early 2000s performed by terrorists. And Russia's response to all of this was basically just to raze the capital of Chechnya to the ground. I know this is very old history, right? And the situation isn't fully comparable, however, these days, right, when Russia is like the worst country in the world or whatever, people love to talk about Russian imperialism and how much hurt it brought to the world. And a lot of people actually use the Chechen Wars as an example because...
That's why! In the last video, you know, there was a part in the last video where it seems he's going to go into Georgia and Chechnya conversation and he doesn't? That's why!
I was typing this, but here's the thing, I know already what a bunch of and Israel and Gaza war to Russia versus Chechnya in the First and Second Chechen War. There have been several very massive...
In case you don't know what happened, Chechens chose their own government, which was not a government willing to suck off Kremlin. So what Russia did is it staged several false flag attacks, went into Chechnya, butchered their people up. That's what happened in Chechnya. He's talking about an imaginary situation which in his mind was an excuse for Russians starting the Chechen wars, which were again started by Russians. When he is talking about terrorist attacks, some terrorist attacks did happen. I don't think anyone's going to dispute terrorist attacks by Chechens. The fact is, they happened way later. They happened and they happened in big part because Chechens were fucking desperate. Chechens were desperate. Chechens had no idea what to do in this sort of a situation. Some of them did attempt to attack Russia, obviously didn't really attempt to win in it because Russia has managed to install Kadyrov into government in Chechnya and is now, you know, sending their people to die off in the fields of Ukraine. But like, he's intentionally doing this. He is intentionally doing this shit. European Union did not invade Serbia, did not annex Serbian territories. You comparing European Union supporting republics which already had an amount of independence, supporting these republics into seeking independence from Serbia, and comparing it to Russian invasion and attempted genocide of Ukrainians. It's ridiculous. Just bullshit arguments. Yeah, terrorist attacks happened way later, way later. It was like the whole second Chechen war, I believe, and there was most of them. The idea of attacks happening previously and then Russia responding to them is absolutely fucking faked. Oh, is my bot not around? It's okay for any country to lose regions of a country as long as majority of populations in the regions supports separatism. What are you talking about? If the majority in these lands supports separation and there are real reasons to believe that the government of the country has been mistreating them, which was the case with Montenegro and with Kosovo both, are we forgetting about Serbian attempts of ethnic cleansing? Are we suddenly forgetting what Serbia did when Yugoslavia was breaking apart? Like, come on. Are we what? Was Kosovo never really under attack from Serbia? Or what? What are we denying here? What the fuck are we denying here? This is not a situation like if you look at Vojvodina, for example, and even with Vojvodina, I feel like Vojvodina's claim to independence from Serbia could be interesting. I feel like the attempt to leave, it would be created on an interesting ground. I don't really know if they would have an argument to be leaving, because Vojvodina is just like a GG part of Serbia. Vojvodina did have independence in Yugoslavia, but Vojvodina is now a normal part of Serbia. They would have no argument like Kosovo has, for example, with Serbia attempting ethnic cleansing of them regularly, right? Vojvodina doesn't have this. Vojvodina is just a part of Serbia. There's a bunch of Serbs there. They could choose to call themselves Vojvodina. They could choose to demand independence for the sake of wanting it. Is there a strong claim there? I don't really think it is. Would any of us be supporting that? I don't really know. I don't really feel like the state would be getting international support. When you look at Kosovo, like, are you unaware what Serbs were doing in Kosovo? Of course, Kosovo had every right to demand to be separated. I don't think regions should be able to separate unilaterally, even if the government is attempting to ethnically cleanse the area. Don't know if I'm fully agreeing with that. I think it's different when it comes to for example, there's a bunch of Croatians right now moving to Germany. There's regions of Germany which are in big part Balkan regions at this point, right? Would I say they have a right to demand separation from Germany? No. You're treated as normal citizens. I don't really think you should be having any sort of claim for separating. Even if like 10 years down the line we repopulate everything and it's only solely Croatians there for generations, I don't think we would have an argument to separate this region from the rest of Germany. If the government was attempting to ethnically cleanse these areas after your people have been there for generations, do you feel that would be an interesting conversation on that? Like when it comes to Kosovo, for example, I do feel like Kosovo had a right to demand separation. Definition of ethnic cleansing can be ambiguous. If ethnic cleansing was proven, though, would you support it? Not with like ambiguous definitions, but like there is ethnic cleansing, as like the government of the country is specifically attempting to kick out people of the region who do not belong to the majority nation. In this case, it was Serbians trying to kick out Albanians from Kosovo. Either kick out or, kill them. But, like, it's not an ambiguous thing. They were genuinely attempting to do it. It's not like it was, is Serbia attempting to ethnically cleanse Kosovo? Yes, they were. Yes, they were. They attempted to do the same thing in Vojvodina. It just wasn't on a big scale like that. And most Croats from Vojvodina left for Croatia anyways, and then Hungarians from Vojvodina left to Hungary. And this wasn't a leaving as if like them being forced to leave because the military was on their doorstep. This was them leaving because the borders of a country were being formed. Borders of separate countries were being formed when Yugoslavia was breaking apart. And people who were Croats just wanted to go to Croatia, right? But you could claim in part there was like a kind of a push. I feel like this is what would be ambiguous. There was kind of a push like in Oluya. It's not like the military was there killing civilians, but civilians still felt pressured. Would you call it ethnic cleansing? The Hague court said no. I could agree in some situations, like you can't really figure out whether it was ethnic cleansing or not. But when it comes to Kosovo, for example, the situation was not ambiguous at all. I don't think there's anything to question. Kosovo had every right to want to be separated from Serbia. If it's normal for half of Serbia to join European Union, would it be normal for half of Europe to join Russia if they want to? Like if Hungary wants to join Russia, would anyone stop them? What are you talking about? If Hungary wants to join an alliance with Russia, I'm pretty sure no one would really care. Like we're literally pushing them to do that. When Serbia refused to apply sanctions to Russia, they were allowed to do that. When Serbia chose to still keep on buying Russian gas, they were allowed to do that. Is then we laughed at them later because they were bitching about being unable to heat themselves, but they were allowed to do that. If Russian propaganda convinces half of Europe to join Russia, is it okay to do? How do you propose to stop that? If your population falls for propaganda and your population supports joining Russia, your population can go and join Russia. Like, how do you assume anyone would be able to fight against this? I'm not really sure how you're even like seeing this situation. Russian propaganda, for example, has convinced Hungarians that joining the side of Russia would be beneficial to them. What are we doing about it? Nothing. Like, are we going to kill Hungarians now? No. If they want to join the side of Russia, they're free to join the side of Russia. I'm not sure what you're... Any country can be brainwashed and join in the other country? The fuck are you talking about? If the population of a country thinks and votes in a way that they want to join an alliance with Russia, of course they're going to be joining Russia. They want to join the Russian-Belarusian Union. If Hungarians want to make it Russia-Belarusia a Hungary Union, who's gonna stop them? You're reaching a situation where you're like, oh yeah, they can't join them because they are manipulated to do so, but you are completely undermining the democracy of Hungary itself. If that is something that their people support, if that is something that their people vote for, if they vote for politicians who want to make Hungary join the alliance, what? Would you stop them? How would you stop them? Would you override a country's democracy? Just because you disagree with them joining Russia? They can never take over Europe, just like Napoleon could never take over Moscow. I do think they should be stopped anyways, as soon as possible. No, I'm asking again, would you override their democracy? Like, what is an answer you even expect? You keep on rambling about stupid shit in chat right now. You're not saying anything meaningful, literally. Do you think Putin would resort to nukes? No. I don't think he would resort to nukes because I do think Russians are aware that using nukes means usually a shared destruction. I don't believe Russian generals, Russian officials are prepared to sacrifice everything they have built for an old rotting man in the Kremlin. I don't believe it's going to happen. States are in economic alliance with Russia. No one cares past them supporting Russia's war effort. I do think we should be allowed, allowed. If you look at the European Union, I think stuff like not giving any more funds to Hungary, for example, I think it's okay to do. I don't think we should be allowed to punish a country for disagreeing with European Union foreign policy, though. You know, like choosing not to support them is one thing, but like, I don't know, fining Hungary for being full of shit, that would be a whole another one. I'm not really sure how I would feel about that, considering the fact that I do believe most Hungarians support the idea of Hungary, you know, being close to Russia. But yeah, overall,
terrorist
GG.
attacks in Russia in the early 2000s performed by terrorists. And Russia's response to all of this was basically just to raise the capital of Chechnya to the ground.
Russia's response to Chechens choosing a government that did not align with Kremlin was raising the capital of Chechnya to the ground. It is a lie, this was a response to Chechen terrorism.
I know this is very old history, right? And the situation isn't fully comparable. However, these days, right, when Russia is like the worst country in the world or whatever, people love to talk about Russian imperialism and how much hurt it brought to the world. And a lot of people actually use the Chechen Wars as an example because the Russian Empire has colonized the Caucasus many decades ago. The Russian Empire has misplaced people in the Caucasus that conducted genocide.
Bullshit again. He keeps on going back to the days of Russian Empire, which is correct, but also he is completely ignoring the fact that Russification attempts were happening throughout the times of USSR too. This is not just about Russian Empire while it was existing, conquering areas around Russia. This is also about Russia during USSR, using the fact that they basically controlled USSR itself to Russify areas around Russia itself. He is pushing to like the older history, I think, in a way to claim that, you know, Russia was bad and then it was really good. Oh, and then it responded to terrorist attack by Chechens, so then we started hating them again, which is absolutely is not a situation. Russia through no part of its history was a proper country. Russia through every single instance of its existence, whether it was Russian Empire, whether it was USSR, whether it is the Russian Federation currently, it was the same imperialist ideology, just having a different flag to represent it.
Against the Circassians, for example, and obviously the Chechen Wars are also seen as this another act of Russian aggression. That is interesting. Then why are none of the countries of the West condemning what Israel is doing? Because you could also make the argument that Israel has been occupying these lands for many years. And
no, by the way, you couldn't. No, you couldn't. Kind of funny, he's showing the biggest genius in politics, showing this Twitter bullshit. But no, you couldn't make the argument of Israel occupying these lands because these lands were British mandate before, and then part of the land was supposed to be given to a Jewish state and part of it was supposed to be given to an Arab state. It is not like this land used to be, you know, a Palestinian state before and then Israel came in and then Israel conquered it. It is not true.
It's also an example of how dangerous Zionism truly is and how like dangerous the ideology of Israel is. Because the West loves to talk about how all Russians are imperialists and that they just bomb people into the ground and they try to resist against them. Again, guys, I mean, I'm just seeing some parallels, you know? But no, you will never hear something like that from your average Westerner. The point is, you know, really, where does this...
Chechens were people who Russia tried to wipe out in every single instance of Russia's existence. Chechens were people that Russia was attempting to wipe out constantly. At no point did they succeed, but constantly were trying to wipe them out. So when it comes to... I think I even have like a part on Chechnya specifically. Let me see where I reached it. Chuvash, Chechens. So yeah, Imperial Russia and Chechens met back during the Russo-Persian War, 16th century. From the 16th century, Russian relationship with Chechens has been quite interesting. Chechens were defeated in 1861, finally, during which they lost most of their entire population. In the aftermath, large number of refugees emigrated or were deported to the Ottoman Empire, and since then there have been various Chechen rebellions against the Soviet or Russian power, none of them really managing to work out. But Russia was attempting to wipe out Chechens ever since Russia got the power to be able to attempt to wipe out Chechens. There's a very interesting, here it is, situation with this monument specifically. This monument was erected after Russia has tried to wipe out Chechnya once fucking again, or USSR might we say. And what happened then was the Chechen Wars. When Chechen Wars happened, when Chechen Wars happened, Russia managed to actually install Kadyrov in the government of Chechnya. Kadyrov, one of the first things he did in power, the piece of shit, was that he took apart this entire monument, which was supposed to remind Chechens of a fight they had against Russians when Russians tried to wipe out Chechens themselves. He took apart this monument and he's using these tombstones, which, by the way, the tombstones were collected over a big chunk of USSR at the time, because what Russia did is they took these tombstones and they just like scattered them around. Chechen tombstones were fucking everywhere. That people were being deported, so lots of them died along the way. Lots of these tombstones were made in like random ass areas and then just chunked to the side somewhere, overgrown in a forest, just hidden. They took a long time to collect these tombstones and to put them in Grozny because they were trying to remind people of the suffering of Chechen people. What does Kadyrov do when he gets into power? He demolishes the entire Goda monument. Chechens and Russians and their history, I don't think can be compared to Israel-Palestine in any way.
Collective responsibility starts and when does it end, you know? Because here's the thing, according to a large part of the world, at least, not according to the United States though, of course.
I wanna see, I have to leave soon. I have to be going.
That's what really matters, but according to a huge part of the world, what Israel is doing is not really good, okay? Just not exactly very nice. Yes, so, you know, why are exactly Israeli citizens...
Also, by the way, not true. When he says not according to the USA, not true. There's this myth in USA that Biden is supporting Israel unconditionally, which is not true. Talking about Israel relationship with USA, Biden has met with a representative of Israeli opposition. Opposition. That's a big fucking thing, my dude. That's a big fucking thing. But yeah, it is not true that USA is supporting Israel unconditionally. Biden has also called for humanitarian aid to be given to Gaza. He has called for a ceasefire. It is the image he's attempting to build is just a lie.
Not facing any backlash for this. I mean, here's the thing, I'm a citizen of Russia. I did not vote for Vladimir Putin once ever in my entire life. I did not vote, yes, on sending tanks into Ukraine. However, my travel abilities are absolutely ass because my passport sucks and like half the world is
as they should be
anyway. Because they basically decided to not give out visas to Russians because obviously, once again, all Russians are responsible for what is going on, you guys.
As they are.
Kind of annoying, yes. And also, Visa and MasterCards. Russians can no longer use their Russian visas and MasterCards anywhere in the world. Because once again, the logic is that all Russians are responsible, I guess. They're all, you know,
all of it based.
Putin or whatever. They're all imperialists. So we should take away their ability to actually leave Russia if they want to. And obviously, we should take away their ability to spend that bloody Russian money in our, you know, perfect clean countries. And I understand why that happens. Russia is doing something that's not really great, that is facing a lot of backlash and a lot of criticism from the world.
Biden did call for aid to Gaza.
Not leaving Israel?
I think you're talking about, he did have a time, this is the same thing that European Union had. By the way, I genuinely like have to be leaving. My work is starting very soon. I think we're gonna be finishing the video in next stream, if that's okay with you. But, Biden did the same thing that European Union did at the start of this, which is both of them. If you remember, von der Leyen specifically had a very, very strong claim over this. Both of them said that they will support Israel. And both of them said it in a way to present the support as unconditional. Both of them have had to take a step back recently. Because obviously it became clear that what Israel is attempting to do is bombing civilians. So I do think that USA response to this is way more complex than just pretending as if they support Israeli bombing of civilians unconditionally. I definitely disagree with that. Even if you look at the UN, I don't know how much you guys have followed the UN resolutions on this, but you can also follow the UN resolutions on this, in which the main difference in the Russian and the USA proposed resolutions at the UN was that one of them clearly condemned Hamas and the other one did not. They both call for equally basically the same things, which is, hey, stop the fire a little bit so we can help the civilians save their lives. It is not true that USA supports Israel unconditionally. Also, I have to be running. See you on Monday. I'm going to drive.